This is Jocko Podcast number 461 with Echo Charles and me, Jocko Willink. Good evening, Echo.
Good evening.
It was a good test. It was a good way to figure out who really had the will to win. And I'd already put them through some paces in the morning with your standard sprints and jumps and push-ups and buddy carries, and made them hit the surf and get wet and run a little bit more and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I had tested them with some complicated instructions and various physical and mental tasks that required leadership and memory and attention to detail. This kind of stuff, right? And so then as I'm really trying to parse out who wanted victory, I came up with another test. And this wasn't a complicated test. I told them what they had to do was swim across the river. This river's down by the ocean. Swim across the river, go get the biggest possible rock that they could carry, and then swim back. And whoever could put their rock at my feet, whichever rock was the biggest, would win. And I figured it was a good test of more than strength. I wasn't really thinking about that, or endurance. I wasn't really thinking about that. I was thinking of good ability to adapt, because if you're going to carry a rock in one hand, you're going to have to adjust your swimming technique, and whoever could adapt and keep up their speed on their swimming would be able to win. So I gave them the starting command, which is stand by, bust them, and off they ran, and they all sprinted into the water, ankle deep, and then waist deep, and then chest deep, and then because the river gets deeper, and then it got to the deep part, and so then they all start swimming across. I don't know how far it was. Maybe the width of the river's 35 yards or something like that. Mm. There's probably about 20 yards in the middle that's that's above 6 feet deep. And so I'm watching, and they get across the river, and they're wading out the other side, and they come up on the other side. And I was watching them, and they were all kind of picking up their rocks and heading back towards the water, like a tennis ball size rock, or maybe a baseball size rock, or maybe a softball size rock. And then they were all heading back into the water. But there was one individual who was looking around and picked up a big giant monster rock. Had to lift it like sumo style deadlift, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like strongman competition style. Sure. It took two hands and kind of wrapped around and picked it up. It was certainly too big to be carried with only one hand, and definitely you could not swim with this thing. So I thought to myself, there's going to be some lessons learned for this individual. Maybe not the sharpest tool in the shed. But I watched, and I see that competitor, right? And I see a look of determination as they walk back toward the river, deeper, and, ankles, and then knees, and then waist, and then chest. Now I'm thinking, I'm getting a little curious. You start paying attention when you see someone that's doing something totally different. Mm-hmm. And I'm a waterman, right? I know that it is not possible to swim with this rock. It is not, especially because you can't use your hands. Yeah. Maybe if you could tie it onto yourself, you could tread water for a moment, but even that, I don't think you could actually do it. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really think that this competitor was going to be able to pull this off. It seemed like I said, the bad judgment was going to come into play, and they'd get to learn a lesson, but they kept walking. Shoulder deep, then neck deep, and then chin deep, and then submerged. And I saw like the crown of the head, the scalp just disappear underwater, being weighed down by the rock. And some time went by, and you could see like little bubbles, like a little trail. And as the time passed, I thought, well, they're going to be running out of breath soon. And right around that time, right as I started to get a little bit concerned, suddenly a face broke the surface of the water momentarily and grabbed a big freaking gasping breath of air, and then went back under. Mm-hmm. And it was real obvious that they had pushed themselves off the river bed and grabbed the breath, and then sank back down and kept walking. And then that happened again. Another desperate but determined face breaching the surface and stealing a breath and then disappearing into the depths once again. But they were making progress. Mm-hmm. And after maybe the fourth one, it seemed, okay, they're going to pull this off. And it was a long slog. But, they drove on, and this individual didn't really seem to care too much about the pain and the discomfort. And they moved closer and closer, and finally their head came out of the water. And by this time, many of the other competitors had made it to me because they were kind of swimming. And they'd placed their, I'll say, their humble rocks at my feet. The little apple-sized rock, maybe the biggest about a grapefruit size, maybe 2-3 pounds.
Sure.
And then came the determined human lumbering out of the water with a 60 or 70 pound rock. A colossal stone cradled in her arms, like a big mass of depleted uranium. She came over to me, dropped the boulder at my feet, and looked at me and smiled because she knew she had won. And we both knew that it wasn't even close. And so I called the attention of the other competitors, probably about, I don't know, maybe 15 girls between the ages of 7 and 10, all family friends or friends of my family that we were all camping at the beach. And I told them that the winner, by a long shot, was Rana Willink, my daughter. And she smiled, and I smiled too. I think she was probably 7 or 8 years old at this time, and this was one of the first and most profound indicators of her level of determination in life. And she continued on that path of determination, pushing herself, getting better. And she's always done that with a smile on her face. And it's an honor to have her here with us tonight to share some stories of life, her struggles, her lessons, and hopefully allow me to share some of mine as well. Rana Willink, thanks for joining us.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
You were a tough little kid in the river. How come you wanted to win so bad?
No clue. I just did.
Do you remember that pretty clearly?
I remember it, yeah. My dad used to make us do all these evolutions at San Alejo, a place where we camped with a bunch of family friends, and made us carry our little mini blow-up boat on our heads and go down to the river. It was fun.
It is fun. All right, let's go back before that. What is the first thing that you remember of life?
First thing I remember from life?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I remember elementary school a lot, growing up in Ocean Beach, and with my 2 other siblings at the time, and going to elementary school, being super know-it-all and annoying in grades 1 through 4. If I got a question wrong on the multiplication test, I would cry. I just wanted.
Do you remember your shy phase? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do, definitely.
Because when you were really little, you were really extremely shy. And so when anyone would come over to talk to any of our family, you would hide behind mom's legs. You'd hide because you were super shy. I don't know if this had anything to do with it, but at one point your older sister cut your hair, kind of off.
She cut all my hair off.
She cut your hair kind of off. And, you had long hair, and then I don't know where your mom and my wife, I don't know where she was, but your sister Freya got out scissors and decided to style your hair, and so you just kind of cut it off.
Well, yeah, and I would do anything she told me to do because it was my older sister. So she said, "We're cutting your hair." I was like, "All right." Guess we're doing it.
The other thing that's interesting, I remember there was there was some kind of a party at the SEAL team, And one of my platoon chief at the time, who's a great friend of mine who I'd known since I was at Team 1 back in the day. And he was married and he had one kid. And he showed up at this party, and his daughter was like the cutest little thing, and her hair was braided, and there was ribbons in her hair. I think they were like white and pink ribbons in her hair, and they matched her skirt, and her skirt matched her shoes, and she just was cute as a button. And then we pull up, and our family, our children, looked like feral animals. Like, no, first of all, my son didn't wear shoes. He rarely ever wore a shirt, and he just wore swim trunks. And these are like Navy Exchange swim trunks or Target swim trunks. Just that was what he would wear. My oldest daughter would wear a ballerina. What is it called? A tutu?
Yeah.
She'd wear a pink tutu. Like, this is just what she was wearing.
That's how. Yeah.
And then you would wear a leotard all the time. And the thing is, everyone's like, all these pieces of clothing were grimy, like dirty.
So nasty.
So nasty. And it wasn't even, my wife would wash them, but they were just stained. And it was like, I think the attitude for my wife was, instead of being like, no, you have to like put this on. No, you need to, no, you look. She was just like, okay, if that's what you want to wear, cool, whatever. I got 3 freaking kids below the ages of 6. Like, I'm over it.
Wear whatever you want.
And so, yeah, you kids definitely grew, and it was a pretty wild scene. But that was the first time I was like, oh, if you saw my family if you didn't know anything, you'd be like, damn, these people fell on some hard times, bro. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the early kids. Now, you mentioned camping up at San Alejo. That's something that we did every summer for between a week and 2 weeks, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I don't know if you remember this, I would have to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would just go to work because it's an extra, whatever, half an hour to get to work. But the funny thing is, Echo Charles, is this campsite, like if you think you're, quote, going on vacation, you might think you go somewhere that's far away. No, dude, this is 20 minutes from our house. But everyone would go, and it would just be chaos and awesomeness for a week to 2 weeks. Sun, everyone would just get annihilation sunburns.
Chafing. Oh.
Chafing everywhere from just all day in the water. Feet would be annihilated, but it was cool. It was awesome. Did you enjoy San Alejo?
Yeah, I feel like when we were coming up with things to talk about, that's like the place where I have the most memories, like as a whole family. Because everything was just like, everything was so chaotic at our house that it was a place where we all went and we all just had to be there. There was no like ballet lessons to go to, no gymnastics, none of that. So, and I don't really remember you leaving to work. I think we were probably just down at the beach the entire time you were working. But yeah, I feel like all of my good memories with like my childhood friends and the fam was all there. Yeah.
We did tent camping, and then we graduated to a pop-up trailer. You know what that is, Echo? It's like the one that looks flat, and then you unlatch it all and it kind of pops out.
Yeah.
And then eventually, God bless, we got the Lazy Days, which was a real RV, a Class C RV.
Yeah.
And it was funny because, I don't know, I think I paid like I don't know, $8,300 for it, bro.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it was fire.
Oh yeah,
it was so cool.
So wait, the tent. So when you're talking tents, right? The initial offering. What were they, like the big tent? Like the size of this room kind of tent, or like each individual tent, one guy, 2 guys.
Maybe you have like a family tent that holds 4 or something.
Yeah, but it's 4, like everybody next to each other.
Yeah,
4.
yeah.
But sleeps 4.
Like my wife and I would sleep in one big one, and then the kids would. And my son would actually just sleep in like on the dirt.
Yeah.
Or on a chair. Like we'd find him and his buddy and just
knocked out.
Yeah, just knocked out on the around the campfire.
Yeah, that's how I guess.
Yeah, it was. But this is a piece of advice that I've give people now is, if you can pull your kid out of school, do it. Yeah. Like if you have an opportunity, you got some, at work, you're going to such and such a place, or you get some opportunity to pull your kid out of school and take him to do something, do it. Like 100% do it, and do it as much as you can. I mostly did that with my son, just because, I don't know, I guess because he's a boy and he surfed and he was more interested in other things. But I wish I would have done it more with you guys too, because that's just way better. It's just you will have more memories than you will get from your desk at school.
Yeah, it feels like also, I mean, obviously it depends on what you guys are going to do. You don't pull them out of school to go watch TV or something like that. But yeah, right, I see what you're saying. But it gives them like reps in the real world too, little experience. But it's like, it's not just, it's a fun experience. It's like you get playing time in the real world rather than in the classroom. You see what I'm saying? So it feels like, that would be very beneficial.
Get that playing time.
Yeah, man. It's true.
All right, so you meant, I started off talking about these like competitions and stuff, and there's a lot of fun competitions to be had. Like how long, who can hold their head in the ice chest, like, a cooler filled with ice.
Sure.
Who can hold their head in there the longest?
Wait, Hannah, so these competitions or all these different evolutions or whatever, did he participate, or was he was a coach, he was a ref or whatever?
I was the commander.
He just came up with the ideas.
You guys do it.
But I feel like I don't remember much not being like a competition. Yeah.
So no like fun like leisure activities. It was just more like, all right, let's see who comes out on top today. Okay. Yeah. All right, good tip.
Like who can hang on this pull-up bar the longest.
Oh yeah.
Even things like, and you've seen me do this, Echo Charles, even things like talent shows.
Yeah.
Because, they would put on like a talent show or something.
Yeah.
And I would just judge.
Yeah, I know.
Like fully judge.
Yeah. Like
not even like fun.
He wouldn't be
fun
the judge.
Everyone wins. Not an everyone wins sort of situation.
Yeah, I know.
It was the winner got like an ice cream from the camp store or whatever, or just got like love from your father.
Do you remember when your kids were having a jumping in the water diving contest?
I remember it very much. I got to witness this scenario at my house. Yeah, there. I mean, like I don't know, was it diving, cannonball? Yeah, it was like anything into the water.
Some kind of jump off the platform thing.
Yeah, and I saw your method right away. I was like, I see what he's doing.
Yeah.
Okay,
And it's the cool thing is, they get into it.
Oh yeah, it works. It takes hold for sure.
And even there's no prize of any kind in that case.
Actually, Rana's right. You're probably more right than you realize. Love from your father. So if it's like, if Jocko's over here blowing up the set with his presence, his voice is all loud. All the kids are like, "Who's that guy?" And then he's giving tips and saying, "That's really good." I'll let you explain the method, but when he's like implementing his method, bro, that's really what you're striving for.
Real,
you're like, I just want approval from this guy, which actually I did learn something from that.
What was the takeaway?
Well, tell your method first, then I'll say the takeaway.
Basically, the method is to give them really like distinct feedback. So like when your kids, and it was a whole bunch of kids, I don't know, it's probably 10 kids, but let's say Freddie gets up. And Freddie like walks to the end of the diving board and he jumps off. And these kids are like 6. I mean, he's just jumping off like a wild man. But I'd say, all right, Freddie, hey, listen, overall, not bad. Technique, a little bit marginal because your hands were flapping all over the place. But most important, your attitude as you walked up, you didn't look like you were having a good time. No one wants to see you not having a good time. So because of that, I'm docking you down to a 2.9. Try again.
Yeah.
And the next time Freddie would go, his hands would be controlled at his side, and he'd have a big smile on his face, and he would I'd be, all right, there we go, 4.2. Yeah. Improvement.
Yeah.
So there's the method.
Do you remember this method? Like, does that ring a bell? It's like, oh, that makes sense because he did that?
Yeah, it wasn't just like, oh, good job. Because then you're like, oh, they're not really watching and they don't really care.
Oh, okay.
But when it feels like maybe just a good job would be like, okay, we're just doing a dumb, like, diving contest. Yeah. But then it's like, so when the judge is serious, you're like, oh shit, I gotta get serious now, you know? But like, we can't even play card games in our family. That's like, we've tried to play multiple like card games, spoons, all this. Bro, it just gets so chaotic. And my dad came up with this thing during the game where it's not just like you're out, it's like you're getting ejected.
Oh, yeah.
You're getting ejected from the game.
If you're out from the game, Echo, I would go, Echo Charles, and everyone would put their hand up and then retract their hand back and go, Echo Charles, eject.
And like that feeling was horrible.
So not that you were kicking him out, it was like a legitimate part of the game. Right?
Yeah, so
like
you know a game like musical chairs?
Yeah.
So if you didn't get it, you didn't get your chair, it wouldn't just be like, go to the side. Yeah. It would be like, Echo Charles, and everyone would go, eject.
Yeah. So it's like this hostile spectacle.
And there's games like Spoons is like that. Yeah. We have a lot of games that narrow the playing field.
Game?
The symbol game that narrow the playing field and narrow the playing field and narrow the playing field. Right, a lot of games like that.
But we did it to my younger sister. We like ejected her and she was like bawling her eyes out. I don't think we played since, honestly.
Well, your younger sister.
My mom got so mad at us.
Yeah.
But it's all.
Well, the other end of the spectrum is Helen is so nice that she wouldn't, she couldn't even bring herself to say eject. Yeah. Even though she was playing the game and you're authorized to eject someone and verbally communicate that with the group and ostracize that person, we'd all do it. And then she'd be like, it's okay, sweetie. Like as we're ejecting Echo Charles, she'd be like, it's okay, Echo. You did great. Yep. No one believed her. Like not even the person that got ejected was just like, she.
Yeah, that makes sense. But doesn't surprise me, that kind of stuff. And there's I think there's like a lot of value in these things. Like, look, does Jocko go too hard sometimes? Maybe. But like, especially that, the judging the diving contest. So the takeaway was, you're right, Rana, where if you're just like, hey, good job to everyone, usually they're kids, right? You don't want to freaking insult them, especially in front of everyone or nothing like that, right? But if you kind of can construct this method, which Jocko apparently did, it's even more effective than a good job, so it's like you're engaged, so you engage. Like I notice every detail of your jump, so they feel special, like oh, he cares, kind of a thing. That's boom, they're signed on already. When you're like, hey, I like how you did this, but then you give them praise, but not too much praise. You don't get the 100% praise. You give them like the 85% praise, and then you address the remaining 15%. Now they got motivation and a mission. See what I'm saying? And he's engaged, and Jocko's going to be there the whole time with me, like evaluating whatever. Bro, you see this kid's freaking face light up. Can't wait to get back on that freaking wall.
And you know what else is an important lesson about that? Is if your kid jumps off the thing and you go, hey, that was great.
It wasn't great.
The message is, whether it's great or not, the message is you've achieved it.
Right.
If you say, hey, that was good, but here are some things the message is, I believe in you and you can do better.
Yeah.
You can do better. Yeah. And who doesn't want to do better, right?
I know.
And, occasionally you'd get someone that, was really struggling with some particular thing. And it's not like I'd be like, whoa.
Right.
I would tactically kind of support that individual. I wouldn't go too hard in the paint. Yeah. If there was a kid that was maybe a little bit uncoordinated on some particular evolution, I might not pick him for the team, but I'm just kidding, bro.
No, the thing is, even when you're explaining it, like I'm thinking, I'm like kind of mentally taking notes, like, okay, how am I going to implement this? But I got to bring my version. I can't bring your version. I got to bring my version. See what I'm saying? And I'm remembering that ever since then, that's what I would do. Because that's a common game right there. Who can do the best cannonball? Who can do the best dive or whatever? That's how.
But it's also like, who can do the best anything? Right?
Anything, yeah. So I implement every single time. If I got the opportunity, boom, that freaking concept is in there. Oh, yeah, 100%. But I do add my like certain flair. Like if someone does it, like if they do one that's like not up to par, I'd be like, hey, that's the worst one I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, dang.
But it adds, they know I'm joking, whatever. Okay. But it's like, it adds a little bit of fun. They're all troubled. But yes, but yeah, every single time.
I used to like roast the kids too. Not just the kids, I'd roast everybody
that makes sense
around the campfire.
Completely. Yeah.
With a guitar. So I would like sing songs
Makes sense to me.
About each individual kid.
Yep.
And they were kind of a lot of times based around scatological humor. Do you know what that is? Do you know what that is, Rana?
No.
It's like the nice way of saying really immature jokes about like poo.
Oh, right.
So it'd be like this kid farted, and it would just, the little kids, they think that's the craziest thing they've ever heard in their lives. Like,
amazing.
Yeah. But that was good. But, the thing is, I mentioned that like my wife sort of like let the kids kind of wear what they wanted to wear. We weren't real super strict on all these little items, I think a lot of times when I talk to people about their kids, I think they're always surprised that I was very laissez-faire, or for in the parlance of our times, I was more chill,
Yeah.
And we even tried it when you guys were little. Like one Christmas, we asked the kids, we go to bed because Santa's going to come. And if you're awake when Santa shows up, dude, he's leaving. And they somehow convinced us that whenever they woke up, we're going. Like we want to open presents right then. So they woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning. And so we all got up at 1 o'clock in the morning and we opened all the presents. And then it was just kind of ruined everything. So we did implement a rule there, which was like, don't get out of your room until 7 o'clock in the morning.
And we do order for opening presents. It's not everyone opens at once.
Oh, like take turns. Like,
it's it's youngest to oldest.
Youngest to oldest, one present.
And then you
Oh yeah, rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good system. What do you do? Free for all?
It's not. Yeah, free for. I mean, I remembered. Yeah, one at a time. It's not strict though, but it's one at a time. We want to see what is it, whatever for the thing. But no, it's not in order.
For the free for all for us, it was done in 2 minutes. It's like 1:02 a.m. and we're like, oh, all right.
Yeah, that was a bummer. The funny thing about that is like we didn't have much money, at all, and so a lot of when I would buy something, I would save the box. So, for instance. When I would get a computer, I'd save the box for 3 years, 4 years. And then just when Christmas time would roll around, package that bad boy back up, zeroize the computer. Here you go.
Wait, another that same computer or put something else in the box?
Same.
The one that hit, the one that was his.
So if I got a new computer every 3 or 4 years.
Oh, you get the old one.
I got his old computer multiple times. Yeah.
Actually, that's not bad.
But it's not bad at all.
Yeah. As far as
yeah.
I would try and.
I honestly didn't even know. I thought it was new.
Sweet.
I was stoked. I was like, dang, all right. I got a new computer. We're doing good.
Yeah, we're stoked on that one. The other thing that I remember about you being a kid is you were freaking strong as a child.
Yeah.
Like, not normal. You are not normally strong.
That's what he always says. I have multiple memories on different occasions of my dad making his friends pick me up and just realizing how dense I am, so to speak. And there were like a couple words he'd use, but dense, heavy.
These aren't the best words. So,
I mean,
this is a lesson. So I said I was going to go over some lessons learned from me. This is a good lesson for me because in my mind, I was literally as stoked as I could possibly be. Because you know how different people have different strengths, right? So you know when you train with someone in Jiu Jitsu, with training with girls is a lot different. You don't have as much of a regular occurrence of this type of human. But people that are they're built different. And you're like, okay, this dude's freaking so heavy, so strong, super dense. And usually it's a type of person that has explosive muscle tissue. So like, what's that? Is that type 2 tissue?
We'll say
like twitch
fast,
or something?
Yeah, fast twitch. The fast twitch muscle, right? Those people they feel denser, stronger, and they're heavier for their size. And so again, it's a lot more rare, in my opinion, that a girl has that. And it was so obvious when you were little because you were heavy.
I know.
And
you told me.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is, in my mind, that was like a huge compliment.
Yeah. And my sister is like...
And your sister's normal.
Well, she was like smaller. Like she was a ballerina, my older sister. And he would say she's like a bird. She's like a bird. He would have his two friends pick us up or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, oh my God, isn't she like a bird? And isn't Rana so dense, so heavy? I was like...
Yeah, and
great.
that's how stupid I am.
Yeah,
is I didn't even realize that was a thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the thing that I'm talking about is girls are constantly being looked at and judged on what they look like, whereas guys don't. There's really not that much of a difference. And the biggest component of the way girls are looked at is like their weight. So when your dad is like, dude, check how heavy she is. And then your friend lifts her up and goes, dude, she is heavy.
They'd be like, dude, and this is crazy.
And they'd high five
me. What the
heck
is this?
Yeah. Of course, they're high fiving me. And meanwhile, she's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
So it's just a little heads up.
I remember one specific instance in the garage, or like outside in our old house in Ocean Beach, in the back, on the pavement. I remember Seth was over.
Yep.
And you made him do that. And I was like a little bit embarrassed because I had like a crush on Seth.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, we're going to get married when we're older, blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. I was like 8.
Nice.
7. And so I was like, oh shit, like a little bit embarrassed, you know? But I didn't really think, like I was like embarrassed, but then I was like, okay, whatever.
So let me ask you this about that experience. Because obviously it's not like an intentional abuse or not, nothing like this. It's like, in fact, it's the opposite.
We talk about it now because I'll be like, bro, you literally called me dense. You called me like a bowling ball, all this stuff. That's like, and he said, dude, that's the biggest compliment I could ever give you. Right. Like, that's what he said now. And I understand it now as I've embraced that I'm like stronger. Yeah. But like when I was a kid, I was like, oh shit, dude, I gotta like change. I gotta do something about this because this is not good.
Do you think that because, okay, so there's so him saying that stuff, for sure, it's going to land. What he's saying is landing, but his tone isn't like, it's not a negative tone, it's a positive.
No,
so did you sense any of that going on? Like, or was it just, hey, you're saying I'm dense, that's bad? That,
I feel like looking back on it, I remember him being stoked. It's just how I like twisted the words in my head.
Yeah, and also the way, for lack of a better word, like society. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Is you look at the Barbies and you look at it's skinny.
Yeah.
And here's your dad being like, dude, you're so heavy.
Right.
Like, just like that. I'm totally stoked.
Yeah.
But I'm an idiot. Right. I just didn't make the connection.
Yeah, but I feel like the outcome and the whole deal, it would be a completely different situation if you said it in a negative, in some bizarre world or something. If you're saying it with a negative tone, that's like a whole different thing.
Totally.
Even though
100%.
You're not taking it as good, you'd still take it bad, of course, but it would be like, I feel like the outcome would be like way different and way worse.
And I guess the lesson here is like, even with the best intentions,
100%, yes,
it was not good. And imagine if you had negative intentions.
Right.
You gotta remember, this is sort of like a leadership lesson too. I talk about this sometimes. When you're in a leadership position, you gotta remember that your words carry more weight, right? A lot more weight. So if you work for me, Echo, and I go, even if I'm just joking around, I go, I guess you didn't really want to put your best effort to this video that you had made.
Yeah.
Even though I'm joking,
right,
it has weight.
Yeah.
By the way, it also has weight when you say something complimentary. It's more, a lot of times you don't recognize that, I'm the boss here. I need to give some compliments, because in my mind, I'm like, Echo doesn't really care if I say like, hey dude, that was a really good job.
Yeah.
But in your mind, again, it's just because I'm thinking, who am I? I'm just a dude.
Yeah.
But in your mind, you're like, the Jocko's the boss. He's the CEO, or he's the lieutenant, or whatever.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm like, I'm just another dude. So you got to keep that in mind. Your weight, the weight of your words as a leader is a lot more than you think they are. And the weight of your words as a parent is probably even heavier than that. And so even when you're saying something with the best intention, if you're not
heavier, no pun intended.
Yeah, they are certainly heavier
and denser. Yeah,
they are heavier.
Yes, yes, they land with more weight.
Yeah, just more dense, like a bowling ball. Right?
Yeah. So there you go. Be very careful what you say to your kids. And I'll tell you another thing that's important to remember is your kids, like, they're going to go through little phases. Some of the phases that they go through are 4 days long. Mm-hmm. Some of the phases that they go through are 4 weeks long. Some of them are 4 months long. But just about nothing that they're doing is going to have some big permanent, like, that's the way my child is now. Like, for a little while, they're going to be into, or I don't know, they're going to listen to music that you don't like. And you're going to be like, oh, why are you listening to this crap? Or they're going to be into some sport that you don't like. Or they're going to, whatever. You just name it. And we'll get to one of those because, you know, you got really into cheerleading for a little while. And I didn't like cheerleading. I appreciate it more now. But at the time, there was things I looked at. I was like, oh, I don't really like this. And we'll get there. But my point is, if you feel like you need to impose corrective measures on your kids because they've taken one step off of the path, don't. It's not worth it. Let them bump into the guardrails and be like, ooh, that path didn't seem really smart. I'm going to go back towards the right path. Because we worry. Another story I tell is about Ethan, one of my son's friends. And when I took him to Jiu Jitsu when he was 5 years old, hated it. Didn't come back. 6-year-old, took him again, hated it. 7 years old, hated it. 8 years old, hated it. 9 years old, he's totally fine, totally into it. And my point in saying that is he got really good really quick, and it wasn't like his life was ruined because he didn't train. And it wasn't even like if he wanted to become a world champion, he would have become a world champion, even though he was starting 5 years later than, right. Even though he started training earnestly at 9. Doesn't really matter. Yeah. So we think that our kid, we need to make him into the world champion. Like, bro, chill. You know who's going to make the kid into a world champion? The kid. The kid is. So give them some space, give them some room. Speaking of jiu-jitsu and imposing jiu-jitsu, and this is something I've talked about a lot on the podcast, and which is I imposed jiu-jitsu on all my kids in a big way. And when I say in a big way, I mean 7 days a week.
Not like what you're doing, Echo.
Thank you.
Once a week. I love it. I love seeing them.
Comparison.
Is it once a week right now, or is it twice a week?
Oh, for the kids?
Yeah,
one time. Yeah. Sometimes twice, but
once or twice. Yeah, yep. minimum once.
The mandatory. That's the routine.
And what's the reason?
What we always talk about, where jiu-jitsu is like they are not allowed to not know jiu-jitsu growing up, just for all the reasons that we explained and all the stuff or whatever. And they've accepted that. Yeah. So yeah, boom.
So just like you can't, just like you have to use the toilet and not like use the floor.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, good comparison.
Sure.
Just like you have to brush your teeth in the morning, you just got to do, hey, 1 day a week. That's just the way it is. That's just a thing.
Yeah, fully.
I think that's a really good policy. I think twice a week's a better policy.
Oh yeah, I agree.
What? Once a week.
I think once is good. Yeah. I think for like young kids, because even the thought of changing it from once to twice, like I just had a kid in my kids class cry, and his mom told me it's because we changed it from once a week to twice a week. I think once feels a little bit like, oh, that's fine, once a week. But it's like, bro, the second day comes by so quick that you're like, ooh,
again, Yeah, especially, and kids, and you have the most experience probably because you teach kids class, or you teach my kids class. You see the difference. Like if a kid has like not that fun of a time, and then I gotta go again day after tomorrow, it's gonna be like more of a thing, so they can have like a good fun. Like my son, for example, you make him go by himself, he's gonna be like, can we go late, can we go home early or whatever. But if he's with Jack or whoever, like some new friend, Avery, he'll come in, be like fired up, ready to go, running around, that he don't want to leave. See what I'm saying? So it can be night and day, like for a kid. So
that they like. He was like choking him out, having so much fun learning, doing the technique with Jack.
Yeah, having a friend really makes a huge difference.
So good.
And by the way, that's not just for Kids.
Yeah.
Like today for open mat, I just texted like the group, and I was like, "Hey, who's?" And I was kind of like, this and that. I got busy, and I was like, "Hey, is anyone who's training?" And like, few people. Roger up, Greg train. Yeah. Dr. Luke. We're like, "Hey, I'm in." And as soon as I saw them, I was like, totally pumped.
Hell yeah, ready to roll.
You didn't respond, by the way.
Oh well.
Road work.
Yeah, that's right. You were doing road work.
But that's how my older sister and I got back into jiu-jitsu. We would just go to Victory to Nogi literally once a week and just go in the corner and do the moves and tell each other, "Oh yeah, this doesn't work." Like we would literally be like, "I think I could get out of this. I can just limp arm out of this." But we would go, we would have fun, and like having a partner, when you show up, you don't have to do that like look around, no one's making eye contact with you. It's worse, especially if you're a girl too. Not even to play the girl card, but like it is like worse. And just having that set partner that you're like, okay, if no one else wants to roll with me, I have that one person. We can just roll 5 rounds if we want. Yeah. You know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned getting back into the jiu-jitsu, but for a while you got out of jiu-jitsu. And again, I believe this is because of me, because I was so like just passionate about jiu-jitsu. And you guys were training every day. You were on Saturdays and Sundays, it was like 5 hours. It was like 5 hours in the gym. Actually, one of you was saying the other day that because you'd go in, you do the striking class, you do the grappling class, and then I would go do class, and then I would do open mat. So there's 5 hours. And this is on a Saturday, every Saturday and Sunday. But I think it was either you or maybe your brother was saying you would be sitting downstairs waiting for me to hear my flip-flops coming down the stairs, and you'd get like excited.
Yeah, we would.
Like what? It's time to go.
Yeah,
home.
it's time to go. And when it wasn't his flip flops, bro, sit back down. We gotta push through, you know.
And the other thing I did that was not smart is I would make you guys compete, and not only that's not bad enough. Make you compete, and then put you up a weight class, put you up a belt level, put you up an age group, and so you're going with kids that are more experienced, heavier, and older than you. And
was that intentional?
Yes. In my mind, I was like, oh, I want to make these.
In my mind, it was like because the tournaments were so small, it was like all the girls are going to go together no matter what belt level.
Sometimes it would be that, but then they'd be like, well, because I would know the people running the tournaments, and they'd be like, hey, Jocko, do you want your daughter to go in this group, which is like lower or her age? And we got 3 girls in there. We got 2 girls or 3 girls in the older group. And I'm like, I put her in the older group. And I'm not kidding. I 100% in my mind thought I was doing you kids the biggest favor in the world. And just like, oh man, imagine how good they're getting right now. And here's the reality of the situation is you enter the tournament, you go with someone that's bigger, stronger, heavier, and older than you. You get smashed. It's not fun. You get defeated, you get humiliated because all fighting combat sports and all single opponent sports, where it's just you and another person, there's no team. Like it's all you. And so it's humiliating, and there's an added component that in jiu-jitsu, you have to admit that this person is a superior predator than you are. Even if it's on a primal, like subconscious level, in your mind, even as a little kid, you go, oh, I can't stop this person from physically doing whatever they want to me. And actually, I think it was Huberman who either he had a guest on or we were talking about this, but the way you should actually set things up when you do it intentionally is you should try and get not just kids, but everyone. 80% of the time, they're winning.
I think that was Jordan Peterson.
Oh, was it Jordan?
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
So 80% of the time you're winning, 20% of the time you're losing. That's like you feel good. Oh, but I got beat, but I know I can win. So I put you guys in scenarios where oftentimes it was 90% losing. And it just,
I don't even really remember winning like one. To be honest,
you won some.
Oh, I won against my friend.
Oh yeah, you had to go against one of your friends, and you beat her, and then you were crying.
Yeah,
because you were sweet.
It's bad.
Yeah,
it's bad.
So what all the outcome of all this bad behavior by me was you and your sister and your brother were just like, we don't want to go. We don't want to go. We don't want to go. I remember
because we're just going to get our ass kicked.
Oh yeah. Because I would also do this in practice. So like at the gym, it's like, oh yeah. Cause at the gym, you've got the classes from whatever, 8 to 13. You got 13-year-old boys in there. And I'd be like, Rana, here you go. Well, this kid is, got a mustache. You know what I mean? Rana's 8. So it just wasn't fun. I didn't make it fun. And this is the biggest thing I tell people now with your kids. And it's just not with jiu-jitsu, man. It's with everything. Make it fun. If you happen to have a kid, because I've had kids, there's been kids like this at Victory over the years. You might have a kid that's a natural competitor, and fun for them is going really hard and competing and sometimes getting beaten. There's kids like that. It's 1 out of every 100. It's 1 out of every 100. Most kids, first of all, they don't really care about the thing that you care about. Like they're like, dude, what is this weird stuff where we roll around on the ground and try and choke each other? I don't even, I don't want to do that. I want to draw, or I want to play baseball, or just some other thing. And sometimes you're the one that's into baseball. Dude, you don't understand, dude. You know how awesome it is for a person to be able to hit this tiny ball that's flying at 90 miles an hour. Do you know what kind of human skill that is? Kid's like, I don't freaking care. It means nothing to me. That again, I'll bring this clip up again, and I don't even know what the movie is, but it's Matt Damon.
Yeah. It's good.
And because they make a bunch of memes with it now, where they're showing the kid he's got like a squat rack in his room, or he's got mats in his room, or he's got a bow and arrow in his room. Yeah. And Matt Damon, he's yelling at his kid. And this, you can't make me live after you can't make me follow your dreams. And he's like, yes, I can. He's like, Dad, why are you yelling? He says, 'cause it's a good dream. Yep. So eventually the pressure, and I realized eventually I was like, yeah, I'm clearly doing something wrong.
What was it that made you realize? Do you remember?
Just they were freaking miserable. And every time going to the gym was a gut check of like tears.
Yeah.
Probably
throwing.
Yeah, being in the car, like throwing stuff.
We like threw like water bottles.
Yeah, one time they threw water bottles at
just
me
like
from the back
crying,
of the minivan.
All three of us like crying, like
straight up rebellion.
Trying to get our mom to like tell Dad like they don't want to do this, and Dad's like, all right, well, I don't care. We're going.
For a while, I said I don't care and just be quiet, keep going.
So you did that. It's a good dream. That's basically what you just did.
I 100% did it.
Yeah.
This is like, I wish I would have been able to hear this, and I didn't.
That's crazy.
And so finally, I was like, "Yep, you are being an idiot." And the big disconnect that I had, and this is something I teach at Echelon Front all the time, is I would never impose things on my platoon. I wouldn't be like, "Shut up, guys! This is what you're doing." I would never do that. I would talk to them and listen to their side of the story and explain to them why something's important. And there was no, it's pretty easy in the SEAL teams. And you're like, well, do you want to be prepared for war? And if you get to there in a conversation, the guys go, yeah, we want to be prepared. We'll go do the training, or we'll get this piece of gear, or we're all unified with one goal. Yeah. So, and you could figure that out with jiu-jitsu too. Like, hey, and you're doing this with your kids right now, Echo Charles, like, hey, I just want you want to be prepared for life, right? Like you want to be able to handle yourself if something goes wrong. And kids will kind of go, yeah.
But even a kid can't really fathom like such long term.
Right.
Like if you were probably like, well, one day you're gonna need to find. Okay, bro.
Yeah.
No, that's not true.
Yep. And that's why even in that situation, it's like going back to what I said about Ethan. Like, okay, well, you don't need to train right now then. And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like it's perfectly fine. It's way better than creating an antagonistic relationship with your platoon, or even worse, creating an antagonistic relationship with your kids where they don't want to do it. And so after I realized that, and I wasn't happy about it, but I was like, well, yeah, I guess this is what we're doing. Now, I will say that I let the girls kind of stop, but my son, I was like, yeah, it ain't happening. And that, I think a lot of that came from the fact that in my mind, as a boy, you 100% are going to be fighting. Like as a girl, you can avoid it. You can be quick-witted in a lot of cases. But in my mind, especially from my old job, like you have to just fight. You have to fight other guys. It's just happening. And I just kept him going. And I will say this as well. Once I isolated him from you two, from his two sisters, he was kind of more on board. And then the other thing is he started, like, I think one of his buddies got it. I think Ethan got into it at the time. And so
Jonah.
Jonah. And so now he had a couple buddies, but that mob mentality is gnarly. A classic example of that mob mentality is when, so we have our first 3 kids are born, and then there's a 7-year gap. So it's been 7 years. And we're in our little house, 934 square feet in Ocean Beach, California. And my wife gets pregnant again. And so it's Halloween night. So this must have been, I don't know what year it was, but it's Halloween night. And we're like super stoked.
2009? 2009, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
We're super stoked. And so we bring the kids together. And we're like, guys, we got some great news. And they're thinking like, what? We getting candy? What are we doing? We going to trick or treat? We going to the Niners house? What's happening? We going up to the Cursed house? What are we doing? And we're like, Mom's pregnant, and you guys are going to have a little baby brother or sister. And it leading from the front, my oldest daughter was like, got the most horrified look on her face, stormed away. Rana, you started just crying, and then Thor followed suit. And it was like, bro, what just happened?
We were like, how could you guys do that to us?
Yeah, it was wild. I think Freya, your older sister, I think she was very sensitive about money.
She was and is.
Yeah.
To this day.
Like she thought a child costs money, and we don't have any money. And now you're going to have another child. You guys are idiots and you're irresponsible.
She literally would think that at the age of whatever, 10. Be like, you guys are irresponsible.
Yeah.
So why were you crying? Or like, what?
I was just upset because Freya.
Yeah.
She, like.
No, if you see, like, if you, the person that you look up to is like freaking out, you're like, oh God, this is bad.
That is 100% real.
And like, I looked up to Freya so much that, or my sister so much, I don't know. She would like, so basically when we were younger, we would get these coconut ice pops from this place, and we were each allowed to have one. And my sister would finish hers first, knowing that she could ask me for a bite of mine, and I would say yes, because I had to, because I thought she was like awesome. I still do think she's awesome, but she's like, can I have a bite? If not, I was gonna get the silent treatment. So like, I guess I'm giving up my bite.
Especially those coconut ice pops.
Oh, so good.
The pulp was at
the best bites. They're like coconut shreds. Bro, I would try to finish mine so fast. So she wouldn't.
So you got, so you stopped training jiu-jitsu, and that's when you kind of got more really into gymnastics for a while.
Yeah.
And you were into gymnastics. Did you like it? You liked it.
I really liked it.
You went to it a lot.
Yeah, I went to it a lot, but I was really not good. I went to it a lot, and like it was just some gymnastics place in Point Loma, and a bunch of my friends were in it, and it was really fun. It wasn't for me. Like I wanted it so bad to be for me, but it wasn't. And so one of my friends started doing competitive cheerleading. And it's sort of similar to gymnastics, like tumbling and stuff. And actually in gymnastics, I liked the tumbling part. I wasn't really good on the bars and the beam. Like I would just fall off and stuff. Like once I got a new skill, and it was like the silliest skill ever. My dad was like filming, and everyone's like, you got this. And it's just like me going around the bar. Like it was just like so, but then my friend started doing gymnastics, and she said, you're going to like, you would really, or my friend started doing cheerleading, and she said, you're really going to like this. And the Drews, family friend of ours. And I like moved from gymnastics to cheer and like immediately was like in love with it. It was so much fun and so hard. Mm-hmm. Like I tell everyone that I like, people in jiu-jitsu say, what sport did you do? I said I did wrestling, but I also did cheerleading, which is random. I know it's an interesting combination. And they were like, cheerleading? Like what? And I was like, yeah, dude, that was hard. Mm-hmm. Like it was like a routine. So you're not cheering for anyone. You're like going against different teams. And it's like 2 minutes and 30 seconds of all out, like pushing yourself, flips, tumbling, lifting people, like all while looking like at the cameras, like having to look crazy. And it was so much fun. I had so much fun.
Yeah. A lot of times people don't realize how hard that is. It kind of is gymnastics in a way. Do you guys like prop each other up and all that? So in college sports, mm-hmm. they have the cheerleading team is girls and guys. Mm-hmm. And you'd think like, oh, a guy doing the cheerleader, like it makes more sense for the guy to go play football. Bro, mm-hmm. the cheerleader, it's like just as hard as football because you got to balance these girls up here. Like the guys are all buff and like big and stuff. Mm-hmm. And you got to do it all game too.
They must come from gymnastics.
Yeah, most of the time, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what it seemed like.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. So the other thing I remember you tell me about cheer versus gymnastics is like super methodical. Like you have to do each little, at least the place where you trained, it was like you have to do, imagine like a jiu-jitsu place where, hey, before you can learn the arm lock, you got to learn this sweep. And so we're not going to teach you this other thing until you know this thing and until you're proficient in it. And by the way, you're not going to be able to roll until you get your blue belt. So is that a good comparison, Rana?
Yeah, we worked a lot on specific skills that were like mine weren't the prettiest, but when I went over to cheer, like they were like, "Oh, can you do a standing backflip?" And I'm like, "No," and they're like, "Okay, let's get it." So I just they would put a squishy pad down and you would go. But in gymnastics, it's like the progression is mm-hmm. so slow.
It's slow and methodical.
And I think I was kind of like, bro, like, let me do some crazy stuff, you know? Like, I was not that great of a tumbler. You have to be well-rounded in competitive cheer. Like, you have to jump. You have to do, like, jumps, standing backflips. Then you have to do tumbling, which is running. But then also you have to lift people above your head. Right. And then you got to remember the dance. It's just so much going on. Mm-hmm. And I think I really liked that aspect of it. Just, I don't know if I'm going to land this freaking standing tuck. I might break my finger, which I did. I might break my finger. I might put my face on the mat. That's fine. Mm-hmm. You just like that's all the more reason to like go ham at it. Like,
and you used to puke every time.
Oh,
like
yeah.
At the end of each
when
thing.
When we'd compete, but even when we were getting ready to compete, we like you do your routine all out. So if someone falls, you got to redo it. You got to redo the routine from like zero. At least this is where I trained, and
which is what
is called Cali Costa Lead.
Is Cali Costa Lead still around?
I believe it is. Yeah.
Shout out Cali Costa Lead.
Shout out Cali Costa Lead. Shout out Coach Betty and Coach Angela. Okay, but they were legit. Like if we let someone fall, like we were restarting, and I would literally vomit because I was giving. Like throwing myself over when I couldn't even do it regularly. Like it was crazy. But that's what I think like made me in gymnastics. I don't think that I was very athletic. I think I kind of moved a little bit slower. I don't know, like I worked out. We worked out like before school and stuff in elementary school, and I was like I could do pull-ups and stuff. But like gymnastics, I remember watching videos and I'm like, like it's like I'm not moving very well. But then during cheer, I feel like it taught me like athleticism. Like you're gonna throw yourself over your head, but you're gonna like land it because like it's like a really athletic dude can get a backflip very quickly because it's this like athletic. It's like that moving yourself through the air and having to like really drive off your legs and. That's that. Yeah. And you got to land it. Yeah. Or else you're redoing the routine.
Is that when did you get so into freaking handstands? Was that from gymnastics?
Yeah, it was gymnastics. That was like the one thing that I really just got quickly. I don't know what it was. A lot of people like progress way faster than me and move to different gyms for gymnastics. But when we had the handstand competition, bro, it was over for y'all.
So, Echo, I'm not kidding. She would walk around the house, our house, just to handstand. Just walk around. Like,
impressive.
Show up for dinner. Like, coming from her room, she'd just...
her feet roll in.
Yep, feet roll in.
Through the hallways.
Yeah. Like, everywhere she would just handstand, just walk around. It was like, you know, so when someone has a fidgeting habit, they turn their pen or they do that with their lips or they, tap their foot. It was like that, but she just like would be standing there and just do handstands and just like stand there and just do a handstand walking around.
And my feet would be flying everywhere, bro. Like I was going to kick you in the face.
Did it feel like a fidget or was it like you were just like kind of into it that hardcore?
I just loved it. Like I just loved going on my hands. I thought it was so fun.
Well, I don't know if you know this about me. I had a handstand phase as well.
Really?
Yeah, from judo when I was small. So I was maybe 10, 11. No, it was before 5th grade. So yeah, maybe 9. Anyway, I took judo, and one of the drills was walking on your hands across the mat and back. No one could do it. You just walk, and then if you go down, you continue, right? One guy could do it. It's maybe a 20-year-old guy, and he was like kind of buff. And I remember everyone like being so impressed with this guy. And I was like, man, that'd be cool if I was that guy, you know? I was like the new guy, but I was like, what if I was that guy who could do it too, you know? So I just go home and practice, and I think you're right. I think guys, well, I don't know, I was one of these guys who I kind of picked it up quick. And not that I could do it really good really quick, but the progress was quick. Like when I practiced for like even like 1 hour, I would be like, wait, I can kind of walk a little bit. Yeah. And I said, I can kind of see myself doing this. And it took maybe 3 weeks, but I could do it. I could do the whole thing. And I remember everybody in judo class being like, oh, look at this kid. He's so freaking cool or whatever with the handstand. And me and that other guy who were the only guys who could do it. And then eventually when I got into high school, I walked across the football field on my hands. And I was like, I won $50, by the way.
Whoa.
And yeah, my friend was super impressed. But
I literally just did a minute handstand at the muster this past weekend because all the kids were like, I can do handstands. And I'm like, oh, really? And they were like, and I was like, well, I can do handstands too. And they were like, no way. And I'm like, I can do one for a minute. And they were like, are you serious? And I'm like, put the clock on. And I did it. They were like, whoa. They were so impressed.
That's sick. You can still do
I don't practice that often either. Yeah. Like, I think that, like, handstands and gymnastics, like, a lot of great wrestlers and jiu-jitsu players are like, have those roots of gymnastics, tumbling, tumbling in general too. Like when we went out to Philly for a wrestling camp that me and my younger sister went to this past summer, bro, all the guys were doing backflips. All the wrestlers were doing backflips. And this camp was a really good wrestlers. And they were doing backflips. They were doing front handsprings off of each other. And it's just so athletic, like that athleticism. Yeah.
Even like the 10th Planet guys like Gio and Boogie, like they came from breakdancing. And so they kind of bring that thing in there. A couple things about cheer that I think is, again, these are like lessons learned for me. But at this point, you know, now I had learned a little bit more and I understood a little bit better. You know, I had made these mistakes with you guys, like forcing you to do jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. And so when you wanted to do cheer, of course I was wrong because I just thought, in my mind, I just had like the stereotypical cheerleader in my brain of like, oh, what do they do? Like sit there and go rah football player, and they wear a bunch of makeup and they have like big hair and they're.
We did wear makeup and have big hair.
You did wear makeup and you wore crazy amount of makeup and crazy amount of hair, but I didn't. But the athletic side I didn't really understand. And actually I worked with a woman who I told her, I was like, yeah, man, my and this woman's awesome, like a badass CEO of a company. And I was like, yeah, you know, my daughter's going to do cheerleading. And she's like, I did cheer. It's the best thing for me. And I was like, oh, really? I said, why? And she said, well, you got to stand up there. You got to do all this athletic stuff. And she was talking about high school cheer. She says, you know, you got to get up in front of a bunch of people and you got to yell. And that takes a lot of confidence. So it helped out her confidence. So I kind of saw the negative, but at least at this point, I was smart enough to be, okay. Kind of what I said earlier, like if your kid's going to go through phases, I thought, you know what, just going to do some cheerleading. okay. And actually, our neighbor, Dieter, because his daughter, this was high school cheer, and both of you did high school cheer. And he and I were always talking shit to each other. And I was driving down the alley, and I stopped to talk to him, and he's like, so you're letting your daughter do cheer, huh? Because he thought, like how Jocko, big tough Jocko is going to let his daughter do cheer. And I was like, and he knew because his daughter did cheer. And he said, so you're going to let your daughter do cheer, huh? Very accusatory. Mm-hmm. And I said something like, dude, I figure I let her do cheer right now. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a meth head. You know what I mean? Like when you try and control people.
Yeah, she's going to rebel.
So, cool.
I also wrestled at the same time anyway.
Yeah. The other thing is, I think, yeah, that's true. Once you were wrestling, you get a lot of. I got a little grace. Little points. Yeah. I remember also, and this is just speaking again about like your natural abilities, which I don't know why you didn't. I'm sure there's like a specific type of body type that is good for girls gymnastics,
bro.
I know, right?
But like,
I'm just kidding.
You did like I had Sage train you guys, Sage Bergner, and she's like a national level wrestler, national level weightlifter. Her dad is a badass like Olympic lifting coach, and she was working with you for the summer. And one day she just said, if I could design a human for Olympic weightlifting, it would be Rana. And I was like, okay. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I think there is a specific build for gymnastics. Plus, it just wasn't like, I just didn't connect with me. I don't know.
I think it was, honestly, now that I've discussed it with you, I think you were bored. I think you wanted it more like more activity and more like, hey,
yeah.
Because
I did like that aspect of cheer.
When I'd have to pick you up from practices, you're like,
bro, you don't break a sweat, honestly.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, and I bet there's people listening right now that are like, she went to the wrong gymnastics place, because I guarantee there's places that are psycho.
And it was a beginner gymnastics place. I'm not like, it just wasn't for me. Like we had good coaches, good people, but I just like it was not like a good form of exercise for me either, in my opinion. But when I got to cheer, bro, I was sweating like crazy. Like sweat like never before. Like really, really working my butt off. Like it was crazy.
So you get into freshman year in high school. I think I just straight up said, I will pay you money if you wrestle.
Yeah. Well, my older sister tried to wrestle, and I knew you were going to like pay me to wrestle in the first, like you weren't like, I was just like, all right, I'll get paid to do it.
Yeah. Unfortunately for your older sister, she was the only girl on the team, and she was just, after like a few weeks, she was like, Dad, I'm literally just getting like my face pounded into the mat, and it just sucks.
And it's sweaty and nasty.
And there's these freaking 17-year-old dudes in there, and she's the only girl.
And that goes back to like not having a partner.
Yep.
That you like, that seriously can make it break it.
Yep.
Like my dad told my brother, you're going to go to Rana's wrestling practices. And when he wasn't in high school yet.
Yeah.
So I'm 2 years older than him. And he was like, you're going to go. So Rana, because I was the only girl also. So he was like, you're going to go and just be her partner. And that was like seriously amazing. I would have made friends eventually, because I don't think that I would have not done it. But you never know. But having my brother there was like awesome, because I didn't have to look around. No one wants to pair with the one girl, because that's, we're in high school,
And luckily, he was probably like, I guess if you were 13, he was like 11 or something like that. But you guys were about the same size. You guys were similar enough in size.
Yeah, we were like exactly the same size, and we were just like little meatballs, like dragging our feet when we'd have to do runs for wrestling. Like we were always the last two to finish, just like the 11-year-old and the one girl, holding it down. But it was fun. I didn't mind.
Yeah.
And people were like supportive. They were like cheering.
the first, I think it was the first match that you ever did in wrestling, like a girl, like you almost got in a fight, a girl swung at you, like a hostile girl just freaking tried to fight you.
Yeah.
So that was a wake up call.
She got a warning, and then I lost. But it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, why did she swing at you though?
She swung at me. I don't know. She just did. We were both freshmen.
Yeah.
First tournament, small tournament.
Yeah.
You know, clubbing the head's a thing. I think she just like was getting pressed and swung.
Okay.
But my mom, I looked over at her in the crowd. She was like,
dude, your mom couldn't even watch you wrestle.
No, she would like.
She would like leave.
And even
gymnasium.
It's funny because even now when I compete, my brother cannot. He doesn't even like to watch the streaming of me. What? He said I was nervous. He was like, I'm nervous.
Oh, he's more nervous.
Yeah, he's more nervous, which I don't know, but I'm like, that's crazy. You can't even. You're not even gonna watch. Yeah, it's fine.
That's actually really good. That means like obviously, you know, really simply put, that means he cares. You know, like cares like a lot or whatever.
I had tournaments, or I had a super fight a couple weekends ago, and it was in San Diego, and he didn't go.
Oh, because he was nervous or whatever?
Probably.
Yeah. It was funny. I was talking to your mom that day because I was there, and I was like, yeah, how do you feel about this? Because usually it's very common for the parents or the coach to be more nervous than the competitor. That's pretty common thing, you know? So I asked your mom, I was like, how do you feel, you know, when you see your kids compete or whatever? She's like, I just hope they're not too stressed. And, you know, like really has this real
She's
sensitive,
so nice.
really caring perspective, you know, and the whole thing is very interesting.
This is also where, did you cut, you did your first weight cut your freshman year.
Yeah.
And I remember because we weighed you at the house and you were over in the morning and we had to come down to Victory, turn on the sauna at 5 a.m. and put you on the treadmill and put you in the sauna to cut weight.
Yeah.
And I think that was the same tournament where like this girl was trying to make weight and she freaking cut all of her hair off. Like got off the scale, was still over.
Right next to me. And it was like a high school freshman. and I mean, it's been a couple of years, obviously, but there weren't too many girls at the tournament. I'm like, dude, she throws it away in the trash can. Makes weight.
Whew. That's kind of quite hard.
Yeah. Damn. I was like, all right.
You ended up getting hurt your second tournament, which was a bummer. And it was like a pretty bad shoulder injury. And that was it for your season. That was it for your freshman season.
Yeah.
You kept going to practices. I did go to practice,
though, yeah.
Yeah, you kept going to practices and you kept trying to learn. But the weird thing is you were basically had like 3 moves. You know, like, I'm going to double leg you. I'm going to whatever.
I hardly even double legged. I was just like, I'm going to fireman, ankle pick. But even I think freshman to sophomore year, I had no moves. I'm not even kidding. I just was like, all right, let's go. But
you would win based on your just like jiu-jitsu that you had in an ancient memory in your brain, and you were just stronger than the other people. You would just be able to like I'd watch girls grab you, and you could see you'd see the look on their face like, oh no, like, oh, this is going to be a little bit more difficult than I thought. Did you do cross country your freshman year too?
I did it my sophomore year.
All right, so let's go to your sophomore year. Your sophomore year.
So freshman year, so you do 2 sports. So freshman year, I did cheerleading and high school cheerleading and wrestling, and I did competitive cheerleading too. But my second year, I didn't want to do high school cheerleading anymore. So you had to pick a second sport. I picked cross country for some random reason because I was like, I'll get my running better. And it was like a gut check.
Yeah. I remember a lot of complaining, and my wife, who's a saint, by the way. I don't know what the statutes of limitations are on this, but I do know that my wife would like pick Rana up somewhere on the conditioning run and like drop her off somewhere else.
Yeah. Once we got caught, we all got in trouble so badly.
What you got caught?
So yeah, because our like the guy, what is it?
Coach.
Our coach he would ride along on a bike. And like me and my group of friends that were in that together, we would just like fall so far behind because we were gossiping. We were not running. We were just like I had the idea that I was going to work on my running, and then I just simply like was like, this is bull. But I actually do remember something interesting that just popped into my head. All the cross country girls wore Nike Pros, their shorts. And when I ran, my chafe, like I would literally bleed like my chafe on my inner thighs. And I asked the coach and I said, can I please wear leggings? And he said no to me because that was our uniform. And I was like, bruh, because when we were running and it was so hot and we get so sweaty, then it gets sticky. So I was like getting such bad bumps in between my legs. Eventually I just wore leggings because it was like so painful and I was getting really like inflamed. But I was like, bro, because cross country like historically has like very slender runners, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, this is not going to do for me. I can't. I just switched it. I just wore what I want because it was too painful. But yeah, I remember that. But yeah, we got caught cutting. Like I didn't cut the course of the official match or the official run. So we'd have like 5Ks for time in against other schools. And my friends were like, we're going to hide in the bathroom because there was an extra loop. I didn't have it. I was like, I'm not doing that. Yeah. And then they got like around the same time as me because I did the loop. And then they were like, okay, we're going to catch up with Rana. It's like, all right, just ran it, you know?
Well, I'm glad that you at least had the morals to not just straight freaking cheat.
Well, they got caught too. Yeah.
Then I'm double glad.
Me too.
And then wrestling your sophomore year, you still had your brother coming in, but now you also had some friends on the team. And you had another girl on the team that was good, and she was strong.
Super.
And she was heavier than you.
Yeah.
She was taller than you. She was
a senior when I was a sophomore, and she was one of my wrestling friends. Older sister who just went into wrestling that 1 year of her senior year. And it was so like nice to have a partner. Her name was Olivia. And my brother was starting to get a growth spurt too. So I couldn't like roll with him anymore. He would just like push me over, bro. And I would just go. But yeah, it was nice to have Olivia. And we had a bunch of seniors that year. And that year was really hard. We ran a lot. We drilled a lot, and yeah, I honestly don't remember too much about it.
Yeah, you were, I don't know what you like your record was or whatever. It's probably something like even, you know what I mean? It was probably pretty even, like,
yeah.
But you know, the thing is you weren't too skilled.
No.
But you were freaking strong and you were tough and you had a couple good moves that you would be able to just impose on people. And, you know, when I look back now, I should have done more. I should have been more proactive in like getting you to wrestling camps where you would learn a lot.
Well, I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
Because then I think.
Yeah, I could have at least off. Yeah, who knows? Yeah, because if I would have been too fired up,
I think
like I can ruin anything.
Because wrestling, this is the thing. Wrestling, my dad did not wrestle in high school. They don't think they had wrestling.
Didn't have wrestling, no.
And it was sort of because when I did jiu-jitsu, I think like I did like it. When I actually had to fight someone, like I would be like, oh no, but then I wanted to fight someone. Like I liked it. Yeah. And I think the same was true in wrestling, but it was like, even though they're very similar, I in my mind was like, they are so different and this is mine and that's his thing. Jiu-jitsu is his thing. Because remember I would tell you like, wrestling's way better. Yep. I would say wrestling's way better. Right. I'd be like, I don't like jiu-jitsu. You got to like do all this stuff on the ground. You have to like, it's just a pin for wrestling. Yep. It's just, you just have one objective. There's not all these submissions you could do. And in my mind, I was like, okay, this is my thing. My dad would come into the wrestling room like once or twice. It was just like me and my brother, like my wrestling friends, and it was fun. Yeah. And like my dad never was like, you need to go to this camp. It was sort of just like, I'm going to practices. You didn't tell me to go to practices with my shoulder hurt. I just went.
Yeah. I definitely had recognized the error of my ways. And like I said, it kind of might have gotten missed in the conversation, but I looked at you, Echo, and I was like, I can ruin anything.
Yeah. No, it didn't get missed.
I can straight up, I can make anything suck.
Yeah.
Like I can make the funnest thing into like a stupid competition where all of a sudden everyone's freaking stressed out for no reason.
Yeah, forever
no,
too,
but
by the way.
That in my opinion is fun. Like what if the kids like just played dive and you're like, good job? They would have been done in 1 second.
Yeah.
It was, I honestly thought it was fun. Sometimes it was a little crazy, but like all the games and stuff, I had a good time.
Let me put it this way. I'll joke about this with your little sister. And let's say she's like, let's say if she said, oh, I want to play guitar. I'll joke. This will be my joke with her. I'll be like, okay, let's go down to Guitar Center right now. I'm going to get you some lessons. I'll get you signed up. I'll get you an amp. You need to get a Gibson SG. It's a very good guitar. And she just laughs. But that's how I can ruin things. You know what I mean?
I understand.
I can just go
because it's a joke now, but
it's a joke now. But back in the day, it could have been more serious and may have been more serious. That's why I was probably like, dude, so stoked that she's wrestling. So stoked that she's like, wrestling is better. I'm like, cool. In my mind, I'm like, bro,
you're not going to be like, you should do the summer thing because there's no way. I think in my mind that would have blown up.
Maybe.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
Well, then by your junior year, you were more fired up for wrestling.
Yeah.
And you actually did train all summer long.
No, I only trained my junior year summer going into my senior year because I really wanted to make it to state. Mm-hmm. I was like, my Coach Spencer, we worked out at Victory every morning, and then we'd go to Taylor Johnson's wrestling class during the summer. And then when school started, the wrestling squad, because wrestling was the second season of high school sports. So we had like those first couple months. And then my brother and our other wrestling friends would come in to just Victory, and Taylor would teach later in the day, and it was really fun. But that was the only time I did off season. Yeah. On my own volition. And it was fun. And then senior year was like crazy. Yeah. And your goal was to make it to state, and you did make it to state. Yeah. And that was epic. But the other thing that I think you started doing your senior year was like cutting weight. Yeah. Well, I started a couple years before, but my senior year, I really was like legit cray about it a little bit. You were like focused on weight, not just in wrestling too, just like in life. Like you just wanted to be, you didn't want to be heavy. I did not. No, I didn't. But that's why it's so hard for me to recall. Even my senior year, there were so many good moments, like making it to state. But at state, I weighed in at like 6 pounds less than I could have, and my coach said, "You have 5 pounds. You need to eat." But I wouldn't because I just didn't want to. I wanted to lose weight, and I feel like I was literally at state. And I was worried about gaining weight. Mm-hmm. Even though you had 6 pounds. Even though I had 6 pounds allowance, and you're at state, and you were like, no, I don't want to gain any weight. Getting to state was probably one of my best memories. Was you? So you were in CIF and Masters. It's basically the regional tournament to get to state. Yeah. And so you had the first day you lost one. And my first match? Was it your first match? No, I'm saying the first day. First day, I think it was my second match I lost. Yeah. Either that or it was later in the day. But anyways, was it? I don't know. You lost a match your first day. And what that meant was, Echo Charles, the next day she had to win 5 straight matches. Yeah. Each match getting harder and harder and harder as you're going smaller and smaller into the bracket. And so she loses one match that first day, and I remember she could have done the weight class below, but she qualified at whatever it was, 134 or something. I qualified at 143. So but at that tournament I was 140. I was probably below
like
that.
136 or something. So she could have made the next weight down, but she already qualified. So she loses that first day. And I'm like, and I'm in my mind, dude, I'm like, well, it's so bad that she didn't make it to state because how it's going to be hard to win 5 matches straight the next day. But I was like, I offered up some comfort food. And I was like, yo, you want some Pizza Hut? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, what do you want? She's like, whatever. And I just like ordered everything. I ordered pizzas and pastas and the whole 9 yards. And she just kicked it and chowed down. And then the next day, she had these 5 matches, and I don't know what happened, and I don't know if it happened after the first match, but you could see that little girl that carried the rock across the river, like that little girl arrived, and each match you could see her. It was also, you'd work with, Taylor, you'd work with Spencer, your coach. So you had more skills now.
Yeah.
And you were starting to apply them for real. And not just imposing them because you're stronger, but doing them correctly and setting things up and stuff like this. And so each match it was watching you get better and more determined. And each one you won, you were like getting more and more confident and more just, I got this. And we're out in Brawley.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Brawley's awesome. It's in Imperial Valley. They have great athletic program, but it's in the middle of the desert. There's nothing out there but farms. And so the kids don't have a lot to do besides like compete and train. And they're all into it. And so they happen to hold this tournament out there in Brawley, and in your, whatever it was, the second to your last match, you were going against a girl from Brawley. The stands are filled with people from Brawley. And the Brawley people are fired up, man. They're there to win. And so the crowd's going crazy, and you had a crazy match with this awesome girl from Brawley, and you threw down and you beat her 9-8.
Yeah.
9-8.
I got called for stalling.
Yeah.
I was up 9-7 and like
9-7. Just, it was crazy. And the crowd was going totally insane, because think of how when you're down by 1 point, how crazy is the crowd? The crowd's going totally nuts, and she's stalling.
Also, they had a full women's team stat. Like had like a team A, team B.
Yeah.
And I think there was I was the only one like left in from my school, but there was only like 4 of us that went to CIF, and all the girls, like all the Brawley girls, were like sitting in front.
Bro, and the Brawley girls, like they all have a Letterman's jacket that has like the number of pins they got on it, what their weight class is. Like it's an intimidating crew.
They're going hard.
Props to Brawley. So she won that match, which was awesome, and then you had in the match for 3rd place, which meant you get to go to state. She had a girl that you had beat before a couple times. And that girl told me afterwards, I think she said something like that she was just scared to wrestle you because you were so strong. But I was like, yes. But you won that, and then you ended up going to state. Probably one of the worst things in my whole life is when you went to state, I had a speaking event. And so I went to I watched your first match.
Which I got annihilated because the girl was third in the state or something, which is fine. I just was happy to be there. Yep. But then, so if you win one the first day, it just depends on your bracket. Well, I lost the first day, but then I was on to day 2 because something with the bracket. I just was there.
Well,
wait, did I win this? No, I didn't. I won my second day.
You won your second day. So I had to leave. And if you ever get a chance to go to state championships in California, go watch it, because they say it's the biggest wrestling tournament in the world, because there's only one. In different states, they have like different size schools. So it's like, oh, this is a AAA school, AA school. And so there can be a bunch of different champions at 134. In California, there's one. So they say it's the biggest wrestling tournament in the world because it's 36 million people, or I don't know how many kids there are, but it's all these kids And they go from all these kids all over the state of California down to one true champion.
And that was the first year boys and girls competed at the same tournament too. So it was at a legit, it was in Bakersfield
arena.
But it was at this like big arena. It was really cool.
That's legit.
Yeah. But then I won the next day and lost one the next day.
And I wasn't there when you won.
Yeah.
And
I won. That was pretty cool.
So bummed out.
Yeah.
But you were the first, I think you were the first person to make it to state from Point Loma High School in wrestling in like 35 years or something crazy like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So that was kind of epic.
Held it down.
The goal was accomplished. You get done with that. What year did you graduate high school?
2019.
2019. So 2019, now you go to college. And you go to Cal Poly.
Yep. After I wrestled, I was like, I'm done with this Like, I'm done with grappling, just in general.
You thought it was over.
Yeah, I just was like, this is too much. The weigh-in part was like really eating at my mind, and I just said, okay, I'm done with this.
Oh, so then you weren't worried about weight anymore?
Oh, no, I was.
So what was your attitude when you got to college? What were you doing? What were you into? What was happening?
So when I went to college, I was like, it's just me. Just me. No, like not my family was there. And it was rough. My first year was rough, but we got COVID.
Wait, what was rough your first year?
So basically I had a couple of friends, and they're really awesome friends, but I didn't room with them. I like isolated myself a lot in my first year. And I was very, very meticulous about everything that I ate and the way that I looked. So basically it sort of started this like inkling, started my like, when I was like in 7th or 8th grade is when I downloaded a calorie counting app with one of my best friends at the time. And like, when I was in high school, I was like, it was sort of nice because I could just put it off on wrestling that I was cutting weight or whatever. And I guess you could say I'm dense. So people would tell me like when I was not eating or eating very little, they would say that I looked good and things like that. And I'm not putting it on anyone. It was same thing as when you would tell me things. It was like, I took them a certain way. So I took it as like, you like me better this way. And like, I just keep going. So basically college was like an environment where it was just me. And like, I had full reign. Like there was no one looking over me. It was just like, I'm going to do everything that I want to do. I'm going to weigh everything that I eat. I'm going to like not go places. I'm going to isolate myself.
So when you say you had full reign, what you mean is you actually mean you had full control over
I guess,
everything that you wanted to do. Well, because you said you had free reign, which indicates like you kind of just went wild, but it's actually the opposite. You were now in full control. You could only buy the foods that you thought you should eat. It was free reign
of doing what I wanted to do. Yeah. Which was the strictness.
Full control.
Full reign. I was like, this is awesome. I don't have to hide anything from anyone. I'm just going to weigh all my food, take pictures of what I look like every single day. And like, that's that. Exercise a little bit too much. And that's that,
How much is too much?
I know. I was thinking about this when I was driving over here because like, obviously exercising every day is like awesome. And I do it to this day, but it was just like, it wasn't even like I was exercising too much. It was like, for all the wrong reasons. It was more like a little different perspective because I was doing fine in normal things. I was lifting stuff that I do now. That if someone was doing it today, it wouldn't be like, oh, they're going crazy. But it was just like, that's just how it was.
So the when you say the wrong lifting working out for the wrong reasons, you weren't working out to be healthy.
No.
You weren't working out because you were training for some kind of competition. You were just working out basically to burn calories.
Yeah. So basically the like app that I had, it gives you a certain amount of calories, and I'm short. And the only 3 things it asks for: your age, your height, and your weight. So like, it doesn't ask anything else. And so,
that's so psycho.
it gives you like a amount of calories, which I think mine was like 1,000.
Does it ask you your goal too?
Yeah, it asks you your goal, and it can say like however much you want to lose, whatever. Mm-hmm. So then my goal was like 1,000 calories a day, right? Because that's what it told me to do. It told me to. This is a backtrack. This was in 8th grade when I put this information in, and I'm a child, first of all, and I'm dense, so I weigh more. But I don't think I looked unhealthy when I was a child, and. That was in 8th grade. It was like 1,000 calories. Everything that you did exercise-wise, you logged it in, and it gave you more you could eat, essentially. So basically, like,
dude, 1,000 calories a day is freaking starvation diet. This is like, and by the way, people talk about like, oh, should your kids have phones? And they're thinking about Snapchat and Twitter and all this stuff. Here I am, like, I had no idea. I didn't know that you had this app until you told me the other day.
Yeah. And that was in 7th grade.
And even if I would have seen it, I probably would have just been like, oh, well, she's, whatever. She's being healthy.
Yeah. Monitoring her health.
Yeah. All good.
Yeah, that's good.
But that was in 7th grade, and now I'm 20? I'm 23 now. Mm-hmm. So...
But in college, you were what?
I was still using that in college. Mm-hmm. So in college, I went to college when I was 18. So I started using it when I was 14 years old. Mm-hmm. So, but I wasn't too rigid when I like going through high school. Like, there were times where I'd be super on it, and then, you have family dinners and things like that and whatever. But in college, that's the thing. Everything is controllable. Like, everything, you can say no. No one is living with you to be like, you good? You should go to the dinner or whatever. And so I was so stoked because I was like hiding it I was hiding it a long time, but I didn't really feel like it was something to hide. It was just like, this is just what I'm doing, and I'm losing weight, and that's good, and that's like,
in your mind, it's healthy. It's healthy.
Yeah. So it wasn't like I was hiding this huge secret from my parents and stuff. But I just simply I just kept it to myself. This is what I should be doing. And then, and
then COVID came. Did COVID come your freshman year of college?
Yeah. So that was my freshman year of college. And
now it's like beyond full control.
Yeah.
Because now you just can't even go anywhere. Yeah. And it's like, I got total control over everything in the world.
Yeah.
Did you have to go to classes or classes?
Coming home for me was really hard to do because of that. Mm-hmm. Because of everything that I bought, like everything that I wanted to consume, I bought. Everything was under my control. So going home for me was really like hard to do because everyone's eating dinner. No one's weighing anything. No one's like, my mom isn't measuring out the tablespoons in her butter that she's putting in the pasta. So like I did not like to come home that often. I was like, oh, this is going to be so hard, like driving home. And then when I come back, it'd be like, time to get back on track. Like, that cycle of it. And
so you're home in quarantine. And actually, we were living in like a smaller house at the time.
Yeah.
So you and both your sisters were in one room.
Yeah.
And then we eventually kicked your sister out into the living room. But it was kind of good because you got to hang out with your sister kind of close for a while.
Yeah,
your older sister,
me and my older sister didn't really talk in high school. We like ran in different groups and like just liked different things, and we never really talked. I don't even really remember talking to her like at all, honestly. and then during COVID, we slept on a bunk bed together, and like got super close immediately. Just came back as like two different like people from who we were in high school, and it was like so much fun. We would like COVID made us so close, which was fun.
This reminds me of So I had this rule. Echo Charles.
Yeah.
Another good thing for parenting. I had a rule in my own head for when my kids were little. And that is like, I will never tell them to like be quiet. If they want to play guitar, play guitar. They want to play piano, play piano. They want to sing, sing. They want to dance, dance. Like I was never going to stifle any creativity.
Sure.
And I kept that rule. And I never stifled creativity. And certainly would never disrespect my kids by telling them to shut up, right? Like I never told my kids to shut up. In fact, in the past 20 years, I've only told someone to shut up, I think 4 times. And it was the same person.
Okay.
And that person was Rana. And it was all during COVID. And each time I did it, she smiled and nodded and said, okay. So we're in this little house during COVID. And my 2 daughters, who both have really good singing voices, they were both like the lead in the school play, the musicals and all this stuff. They both have really good voices. They would freaking sing as loud as they could.
Yep.
The dumbest things over and over again for hours. For hours. And Rana has an especially powerful voice. Do you know who Adele is?
Of course, yes.
Like she can sing Adele songs.
Okay, all right.
And like good.
Yeah.
Louder than Adele.
Yeah.
Adele has to use a microphone. Rana doesn't need a microphone.
I understand.
So there was a few times during COVID where these 2 girls would be like scream. Don't you have a name for scream singing or something?
Belting.
They would be belting as loud as they could.
Yeah.
And I'd be in my room and just come out and be like, Rana, shut up.
So she kind of had it coming to her.
No, and each time she she totally knew.
Yeah.
Like
I forget when my dad's on calls, I'll yell. And my mom's like, "Bro, he's on a call."
And this is something else I talk about. So there's different leadership skills that a person can have, and some of them are genetic. And like if you play basketball, it's genetically good to be taller, obviously. Well, if you're a leader, it's good to have a loud voice, and having a loud voice is genetic. And the reason I know it's genetic is because I have a loud voice, and all my kids have a loud voice. And so like, there's a lot of noise that can come from my kids.
Yep.
So it was cool that you got to hang out with your sister. It was a little hard on my ears, but that was good.
Hey, live by the sword, die by the sword. That's what we call it in the industry.
Yeah. So the freshman year, the COVID thing, the quote unquote quarantine, because the Willink house wasn't so much of that.
Varying levels of acceptance about that.
Varying levels. We were kind of just getting after it. But then for your sophomore year, so this must be why you went back to slow at the beginning of the year for your sophomore year, because you were like, oh, I don't want to be at home with all this freaking butter, unweighted butter in the pasta.
Well, I think that definitely played a part in it. Also, just like being in a room with 3 of your sisters, it just was crowded. So I just went back up. Not really, looking back, I'm sure that played an impact, but everything made sense in my mind. That's what happens. You make it make sense. You're doing it for a reason, and you're convinced, especially when you don't tell your parents or don't tell anyone that's close to you. Everything is so perfect in your mind. This is it. I'm on track. Boom. If you have a little thought is this should I be doing should I enjoy myself a little bit more? You're just no. If I want to see progress, and then it all just makes sense in your mind.
You know what I think is a really good red flag for life is what you just said about when you're not telling anyone. So if you're doing things that you're not telling people, you hear this with alcoholics, right? The alcoholic is drinking a bottle of wine at night alone, and they don't tell anyone. Yeah. But they tell themselves it's just wine. Actually, there's resveratrol in wine. It's kind of good for you, and plus it helps me sleep. They're just making those things up.
Yeah.
So if there's things in your life, and I've had friends that have had bad issues, and they don't say anything about it. And I'm like, bro, that was going on. You didn't tell me what was happening. So I think that's a really good red flag for everybody to remember. If there's things going on in your life that you're not telling anyone, and yet you've convinced yourself that it's okay, but you know deep inside, you know you couldn't convince anyone else of that, and everyone else will be like, bro, what are you doing? So that's a very good red flag of checking yourself, because we can all say, you know what, I just like having a drink on the weekends. What's the big deal? And it's just a few beers, and my wife's already asleep, so who cares? You see what I'm saying? You're just lying to yourself. And you can get away with that. But you know, if you told some other people, they'd be like, hold on. And
even if you have the idea, you're like, well, why am I even telling someone it's not that big of a deal either?
Yeah, because exactly. Because what's so bad? What's 3 beers a night? Yeah. Or 6 beers? I mean, occasional shot.
So you don't want to be that dramatic person that because in your mind you convince it's not a big deal. You're like, I don't need to go tell someone, because then they're going to be like, because in your mind it all makes sense. You think their reaction is going to be like, okay, well, why are you like telling me this? Yeah. You know, like, okay, you're like making sure you eat healthy. That makes sense. Because in my mind, I'm like, I'm just being healthy. So that's good.
Go ahead.
Would you consider, just thinking back, would you, because there's certain levels of this thing, right? It's not just like you know. So let's say if you were to break it into 3 levels, one is like, we'll say normal, we'll say run of the mill, just, you know, as far as your regard for, we'll call it your relationship with food and weight and, you know, physique or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you have the next level up is what we might call obsession. And then the level 3 is disorder. You know how like people have straight up just eating disorders, you know, see what I'm saying? Would you say you're in the obsession scenario, or not even that? Or like, what would you, where
let us continue the story.
Oh, okay. So there's more.
No, I think this is where we're getting into full obsession, brushing up against or entering into, what's the highest level you gave?
Disorder.
Yeah. And I guess there's gotta be something around beyond disorder, which is like, or maybe something in between.
Yeah, I'm sure. I feel it feels like it's a whole spectrum. Yeah, that's.
But when you got back up to slow, could you go to classes? So now this is like 2020, the fall of 2020. Could you go to classes?
No, we had remote classes.
So now you're literally in your room.
Oh yeah, I was in my room.
And now you had complete control before, and now you have even more control.
And keep in mind, I was able to bring a car up, so. You have the dining hall of your freshman year. You can go to like the store that they have on campus, but a lot of times, and shout out to Cal Poly, they put their calories on everything too that you eat. So like it was fairly easy to do. But when I went to the grocery store, like that was my sophomore year when I had a car and I was no classes by myself, bro.
Just
it was crazy.
Full psycho.
Yeah.
You were full cycle, so you're weighing your food?
Yeah, all of it. Vegetables, everything I put into my like mouth. Yeah.
You had a food scale, like a little miniature food scale?
Because I can't. Never mind.
Go ahead, we're here.
No, because I don't want to. Because if you measure things, it's not accurate. If you have a tablespoon, it's not accurate as opposed to a gram. And we would learn that like. I was a nutrition science major, which because I was like so obsessed with food in high school, I was looking at the options for college and I was like, well, I guess I'm really passionate about, and that's what I would play it off as, passion. And I just loved food and blah, blah, blah. So I picked nutrition science as my major, which made it like so much worse. And that's which is so good. It's a great major. Like it helps a lot of people, but it is common. And I remember learning this in class. It is common for people that struggle with that type of thing to pick that major.
Well, it's also common
because they want to go back and help. Like that's like, I just saw a video of a guy who's like, I did dermatology because I had really bad acne as a kid. And so it's sort of that you have an interest in it, even though I was in the depths of it. I just was like, oh yeah, because I'm so passionate about it, I'm just gonna make this my job. I didn't really care about anything else.
So when you said we could cut it out, basically what you're saying we could cut out is because I don't want to make people be like, okay, I'm not accurate with my weighing, like with a quarter cup.
Well, yeah.
So you're saying we'll make people more paranoid than they already are.
Well, yeah, they'll be like, okay, I need to go buy a scale to be. I don't know. Right. Just you have
so
to be precautious.
Like there's very few people. Like most people are like, oh, whatever. You know?
I know. Just like anything you see online. It's like it's like people. There's like accounts of tips for how people lost weight. It's like there's accounts for like here's how to help you. It's like only eat this. Like it'll be like meal inspirations, and it'll be like a plate of cucumber. Like I'm not even kidding. There's a side of the internet that's like, it's like they call it like, they just call it like anorexic like inspiration. They call it inspiration.
Wait, do they call it anorexic inspiration?
They call it like weight loss inspiration, anorexic inspiration, like inspo. Like people posting their like how skinny they are, inspiration. And there's like, I know it's crazy. That's why I'm like, I don't know. You got to tread lightly with this type of stuff. But yes, it's not accurate.
Well, actually, I think it's. I don't want you to tread too lightly, because there's someone that's listening to this right now that would be like, oh gosh, I think that way. Yeah. I think it's actually very healthy that you say this kind of stuff, because someone's rationalizing it right now and not being like, wait a second, a tablespoon, and I was worried about 0.4 of a gram extra sugar. Yeah. That's not very healthy to be obsessed around that kind of thing.
And also like going back, like if you're weighing out your baby carrots, let's just like you're eating baby carrots. That's like good, like, bro. Like you're good.
I would venture to say you can't eat too many baby carrots, but guess what? You can. And you know why I know that? Because I did. So I had like a couple bags of baby carrots. I was sitting around and there was probably nothing else to eat. And so I was just chowing on these baby carrots. And all this, like 4 hours later, my stomach was in knots. And it turns out you can't digest that many baby carrots.
Well, yeah, it's a vegetable.
So be careful.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you have to be that careful for that scenario. Bags, but well, you can eat too much of anything. You can drink too much water.
Sure.
So, okay. And I think that's where you went. That's the zone. Plus you're you, so whatever. But the calories and stuff, you're allowed, I think FDA or whatever, you're allowed 20% leeway as far as accuracy goes. You know how they give fudge fact, room for error or whatever. And I think it's like 20%, which when you think about it, if you're obsessing over anything, especially calories, but macros as well, it's kind of like, bro, 20%, it's kind of a lot.
Yeah,
if I'm trying to be
precise. Even things it'll say, well, 3 pieces of bread is this many calories. 2 pieces of bread is this many calories. But when you put it on the scale, it's not the same weight of the serving size that it gives you. Yeah. So if you really want to be accurate, then you can do so and weigh, because people will be like, well, they said that 30 grams is the serving size, and but that's 3 pieces of this. Yep. But it's actually 32 if you put 3 pieces on the scale.
So this is when you know you have issues. Quite honestly.
Well, no, I was like...
Well, you didn't know, but I'm saying to the general populace, if you're like weighing the 2 pieces of bread, which are supposed to have a weight of 30 grams, and they have a weight of 34 grams, and so you carve off 4 grams, right? This is where you were at?
Yeah, 100%.
Especially if the motivation is just looks. Like, obviously you have your
if you're cutting weight for
exactly right. But it's kind of like, hey, I'm looking in the mirror and giving me these kinds of emotions. Now I'm gonna go be all obsession. Then I feel like that's kind of an incongruent relationship.
It was like looks, but also in my mind it like scratched an itch. Like when I'd have like certain when I knew everything that was like I was eating, it was like so satisfying. I don't know why.
I dig it.
And I was and I would shave off the bread and be like, okay. It made sense in my mind because I could put the 30 in there. And you put the amount of grams. So this time I had a different app when I got older, and it like was a calorie tracker, and it went back to your phone, and you can like see how much exercise.
So and those was your wrist calorie tracker?
It was a wrist one.
Okay. Oh yeah, the wearable calorie tracker.
Yeah. And those track.
Are those things
so
accurate?
That's even more. They're not. They haven't been proven to be accurate. But I was like, I just took it at face value. Like this is, and that's way more accurate than just being like I did something for an hour. Like
So it actually is it's more accurate than just guessing.
Yeah. No, my first app would be like, if you can put in an hour of wrestling and it would give a general, but this is like, it has your heart rate.
Okay.
So I trusted it more, which makes sense, right? Like it's more trustable.
You started going to like an underground speakeasy CrossFit gym at this point.
Yeah. So it was during COVID when we didn't have classes, and one of my friends started working out at just a warehouse that had like weights and stuff and sometimes workout classes as well. And I just started doing that instead because our rec center was closed down. Yeah.
You were working out. I remember you telling me, or you told me the other day, that one of your friends was like scared of your workouts because you were going psycho.
Well, so that was freshman year when I lived in the dorm, and I would have to do like certain things. Like I would be really, really tired and I was not like feeling myself well. And I would just be like, I have to hit this number. I'm like, sorry, like I'm not going to leave until I do. Of
stair
calories
stepper
burned
or whatever
on the stair stepper.
Yeah, and again, just so like a warning to everyone here, this I didn't know about any of this. I was just like, oh yeah, dude, of course my daughter works out. She's been working out since she was literally 5 years old. Of course she's working out.
She goes hard.
Didn't think twice about it. Never thought twice about it.
Yeah.
Oh, she eats healthy? Yeah. Dude, I mean, I don't know, like, you know, I used to be like that with like, hey kids, don't eat that. It's freaking garbage. Like eat healthy. Don't, you know, like I would do that. I would say that to you guys so for you to grow up and be like, oh, that's garbage. I don't want to eat that. I want to eat this. I'd be like, oh, cool. And then for you to be like, oh yeah, well I only eat a certain amount because I want to be healthy. I would have had to have a lot of voluntary information from you that you would only have given me if you wanted to,
and I wasn't going to,
and you weren't going to.
And like I told you, it wasn't even like healthy foods though. It's like it's one thing. I mean, I did eat healthy foods a lot of the time, but like for example, this grocery store next to us had this chicken Alfredo, and on the back it said 1,010 calories. And that was cutting my limits. That's how much I could have. And so I would wait all day. So that like isn't like, oh, you know that like I love chicken Alfredo, obviously. But it wasn't like I'm eating healthily. It's I'm just like that was like no food. It was like this big. And I would just save my whole day for that. Yeah. And just be like, okay, I got my calories and
yeah, but I wouldn't really think about that. Like I'd see you eating chicken Alfredo and I'd be like, oh, what, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, I didn't really know that you didn't eat anything else that day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now that you were back up at school though, when did this happen with this? You were telling the story about how you took a cooking class. Yeah. So now were you guys back in going to class
that was
again?
my sophomore year. So for nutrition science class, we had to take a mandatory 3-hour cooking class, and each week you get a separate like menu.
3 hours per week?
3 hours per week, just once a week. Like it was like, I think mine was on Wednesday. And on Wednesday, you got a menu. You had you had a team and you made this food, and we like all had a potluck at the end of everyone's menu that you bring. And the food was like crispy chicken thighs, like mashed potatoes with so much delicious butter, brownies, homemade pita, homemade hummus. Like we would all make different things and we'd all put it on this long table. And it's a 10-week course. I did not eat a bite of our food that we made for the whole 10 weeks. And my teacher said, as a chef, as a food scientist, you have to taste your food and see what it needs. Like if it needs salt, if it needs pepper. No, don't trick me like that. No, I was like, I did not try it. I said, can you try this food? I would ask my partners, can you try it? Is it good enough? Is it salty enough? I wouldn't even touch it. Yeah. But in my mind, that's why I said, I know I have so much discipline, right? But then in my mind, as we were talking about, it made so much sense to me. Like, it is not in my control, and like that's like, what are you gonna track a bite? Like, how you don't even know how much stuff is in that bite. You don't know how much butter is in the mashed potatoes. You can't track it. So better off just leaving it. And that made so much sense in my head. I honestly was like so proud of myself too. I was like, bitch, period. I like made it the 10 weeks, and that's that. And then it wasn't till like a couple of weeks ago when I spoke at the women's assembly where I was trying to think of stories, because I didn't want to say, I was restricting myself. I wanted to like convey what the nature of it was. And I feel like that's when I remembered that story, and I was like, and I just blocked it out, because it's like, I wish I tried all the food, obviously. But it is what it is. So
is that, would you say that is like something, or how did you feel like what made you say, this is not correct? This isn't healthy. This isn't good for me. What made you think that? Was there like a straw that broke the camel's back? I know that you also told me you weren't going out with your friends because you were just like, well, I don't know where they're going. I don't know what they're going to be eating. So I'd rather just stay home because it's better, and I'll be stronger and more disciplined if I just stay in my house.
Yeah. Well, so basically going to college, I thought like, I would say like, I struggled with food. Like, I would say it in the past tense, like talking about senior year of wrestling. Like, I would say I struggled with food, but it's all good now. And
because now I have control.
Exactly. So because when I was in high school, it felt a little bit more out of control, in a sense that like I did not measure anything. In like, I would be like, I guess I had like 3 carne asada tacos, but you can't like weigh out like the meat, the tortillas. So I would be in class and just be like, I struggle, or like not in class, I would tell my friends like, oh yeah, I struggled with this in high school, but it's fine now. And I think in my mind, the first 2 years of college, I did not really think that it was that much of an issue until like, even in that class, I didn't think it was that much of an issue. I just thought I was like dialed,
just freaking super squared away and disciplined.
Imagine. And I guess it wasn't my behavior, it was like my mind. That was my breaking point. My mind, I could not shut it off for like, I had so much trouble falling asleep because I would just constantly think about everything, like how I looked, everything that I ate, what I was going to wear, how I was going to be perceived, like body-wise to other people, that I was going like I was driving myself actually insane. So it wasn't any of the behaviors that I was like, okay, maybe I should stop doing this. I was like, I cannot do this anymore. This is like making me go actually insane. And I was like, I think I talked to my friend about it, my friend Bella, and I was like, I don't think I could do this anymore. Like, if I have to continue to live life like this, like I can't. Like, I remember being like, what if I have to weigh my wedding cake on my wedding? Like, I remember thinking that, like, what if I'm worried about that on my wedding day? Like, that was like, I was like, dude, I
this is not healthy,
bro.
This
like,
is wrong.
This is not. So it wasn't like my behavior per se, because I was like, I was saying this was right. Like, I was convincing myself it was right, my behavior. But my mind, I was like saying such negative things to myself. I was like, dude, I cannot continue to like be like this, or else it's going to be a freaking nightmare, So.
And then eventually you realized you wanted to get like someone to help you out through the situation.
Yeah. So basically after I realized I can't do this anymore, I talked to my friend and I was like, I think I'm going to try to like fix it by myself, because I didn't want, like, same thing, like since 7th grade I hadn't said anything really. So I was like, I'm just gonna watch YouTube videos about people who maybe were struggling with the same things, and just like try to help myself. But then I still had that back and forth of like, you're being dramatic. You don't need help, because it was in my own mind. I was like, bro, why are you like making it more of a bigger deal than it is? So I was like, okay, that's sort of when I realized like, I want to reach out so that I can like have someone that holds me like accountable or like helps me, you know?
Yeah. So you called me and mom.
Yeah.
And you're like, yo, I need some help. Here's what's going on.
Yeah. I just immediately started crying. But I don't think you really remember this conversation too much.
I don't remember it too much. I remember, and we talked about this the other day, I was like a little bit confused.
Yeah.
Because to me, you were the perfect child. You know what I mean? I mean, no, but I mean, to me, you were just awesome. You were always like super confident. Like you were one of the most confident humans I'd ever known. And so when you're like, I don't feel good about myself, and I'm like, who is this? You know what I mean? But luckily also at that time, you know, we had Jordan Peterson on the podcast years before this, and I learned something from him. What I learned from him was that there's problems that people have, and there's people that know how to fix those problems. Like, I didn't understand that before in my life. It was Jordan Peterson, like hanging out with him and talking. Literally, when he's on my podcast, I was like, oh, because he was explaining, and it was exposure therapy. He's like, oh yeah, when someone's scared of needles, here's what you do. You put a needle in the room, you tell them that there's a needle in the room, you have them walk to the door and touch the door. And then a week later, you open the door and they see that the needle's on the desk. And then a week later, and I was like, oh, he knows how to do this. He knows how to fix that problem. And by the way, if you're scared of this, or if you have trouble talking to people, or if there's all kinds of problems that you can have in your life, and there's people that know how to fix those problems. And the way I ended up saying it, I don't know if I said it to him that time, but eventually what I told people is like, when you have a problem with your car, you don't just like start, fiddling with it. You go to, especially nowadays, you go to a mechanic, because in the old days you could figure it out. Nowadays with these new cars, you ain't figuring anything out. There's computers, there's stuff in there you can't figure out. So nowadays you take your car, you bring it a thing. He's got a diagnostics machine. He plugs in, he goes, oh, here's the problem. And they can sort that problem out.
And then you can use your car.
Then you can use your car again. Yeah, and it all turns out good. So when you were talking, I was like, oh, okay, well, I was confused at first, but I was like, okay, well, obviously it's something that's like the fact that you were crying. I was like, oh my gosh. And mom, of course, is like the most supportive, awesome person ever. And so we were like, cool, do it, find someone that you can talk to help you out. And that's what you did.
Yeah. Well, mom actually sent me someone that her friend recommended. Like, she went out and looked for a therapist for me. Mm-hmm. And she actually found my therapist, which is nice. Mom's awesome. Yeah. She was like, this girl isn't taking clients right now, but she has a friend who's really awesome. And I went to the friend, and I've been with her ever since.
And so the primary thing that she did to you is ask you questions. Is that right? Explain this to me, what she's talking to you about, because I still don't know. I've had this conversation with a lot of people. We've had it on the podcast a couple times where I was like, what do they do to you? What do they say to you?
They don't do anything to you.
Okay, so what do they do? What do they say?
So basically you tell them, like, they don't know you. And this was over Zoom because it was COVID and I was living in SLO and she's in the area. And they basically have like multiple days where they're just asking you questions. They're not trying to figure anything out, or at least my therapist wasn't, but they just ask you questions just to get to know you. And then you start like pulling threads, but they're not pulling the threads. It's you, it's them asking you questions. How did that make you feel about it? And saying things out loud was like, it was all the stuff that I was telling myself in my head. And when I said it out loud, I was like, dude, that's not chill. Mm-hmm. Like that's like the biggest like help, in my opinion, like, is you will convince your mind, like you always talk about this, you convince your mind that this is the right path and I shouldn't work out today because I have all this stuff going on, right? Mm-hmm. So in my mind, it's like
your mind was the opposite. You should work out today. It doesn't matter how you feel. You need to get in there. You need to burn these extra calories. You need to do this.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you always talk about like excuses, making excuses for yourself. Well, I was doing that in a sense, making everything that I was doing okay in my mind. Mm-hmm. That when I said it out loud, I was like, bro, this is like not okay. Mm-hmm. And she would like ask me questions. And we would change subjects if I was crying too much. And she was like, oh, we can go to, like, she's the nicest. But it's more just pulling at the strings. Why did this happen? Why do you feel like this? Why do you talk to yourself like that? Try, like, how do you think telling yourself that specific sentence, how do you think that, like, makes you feel? Or how do you think you can say that in a way that, like, is better for yourself mm-hmm. than negatively, mm-hmm. you know?
It seems like you made progress, but you were also like exhausted kind of.
Yeah. Well, because I was like coming to terms with so much stuff. Mm-hmm. Like we were talking about my childhood, we were talking about like all this stuff, and I was like, holy, but I knew, like she said, it's going to be hard work. It's not going to be fixed like in a day. It's been since 7th grade till I was like 20 at the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was like so physically and mentally exhausted. I would like, after therapy, I remember just laying in bed for an hour, just like, bro, like what the heck just happened? Like I would just be like, and even to this day, I will sit in my car and just be like thinking about it. It does exhaust you because they're asking you the questions you don't want to like answer. You don't want to like say it out loud. You don't like want to admit that you ever like did that to yourself. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. How long did it take before you stopped wearing your calorie tracker? That like, did you do that? Was that quick? Were you like, holy crap, this is so jacked up, I'm taking this thing off?
It was like a couple of weeks after I'd like decided like this is, I just want to change.
What about the food scale?
The food scale, so when I tried to fix it myself, mm-hmm. I upped my calories, but I was still tracking everything. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, perfect. I'll just give myself 1,600 calories. Like mm-hmm. that's enough. Plus I work out. That gives me like 1,800, whatever. Mm-hmm. It was fine in my head, made sense. Mm-hmm. It's a common theme of this. But yeah, I pretty much immediately stopped. I pretty much immediately stopped. It was really, really hard too, but my therapist was like, why are you doing that? Like she would ask me questions about why I'm doing that. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I wanted to get better. So I just stopped wearing my watch, stopped tracking my food, and stopped working out as a whole. Mm-hmm. Because I was like so exhausted, and working out had such a negative like connotation at that point, and it sucks because I loved working out so much. Like my whole life I was working out. Yeah. And I had made it into such a thing of like negative, like you're going to do this because you want to eat food later. Mm-hmm. You're going to do this because you ate last night, you went over, so you need to do that. It was like because I did not like how I looked or did not like how I feel, that's why I'm going to work out. Mm-hmm. Not because I wanted to feel healthy, wanted to feel strong, which I felt that before, but it just got to that point where I was like, this is not, like not one part of me wanted to go, especially not wearing the watch, especially not tracking anymore. I was like, bro, I'm just going to chill because I've been in this head ping pong for so long that I was like, it's done. And
then you were saying after a few weeks of that, you were like, all right, I'm going for a walk.
Yeah.
And that was kind of your re-entry into the, like, doing something physically that you were like, oh, this is kind of nice.
Yeah.
And I noticed you still go for walks.
I do like going for walks. Yeah. I like to, when I'm like cutting weight for jiu-jitsu, mm-hmm. I like to go on walks. I think it's nice. Mm-hmm. It's like, I really liked just being outside, especially when it was COVID. That was the only time I was outside. Jeez. My gym shut down, or the rec shut down, and then I stopped going to that like warehouse thing because I was like, I don't want to work out anymore. So then I started going on walks, and it was like really nice. I really liked it. And then listen to podcasts on the walks, and just
what podcasts did you listen to?
Jocko podcast. No, I listen to a variety of things. I definitely listened to Jocko podcasts. I listened to like Huberman, and I listened to like comedy podcasts as well, and just like murder podcasts, right. just various things, and sort of get my mind off of it.
Then you signed up for you started going to Headstrong, the gym up in Slow. It's an awesome gym, by the way. It's a freaking awesome gym. You went there, like, now were you like, I'm working out because I like to work out?
Yeah, I just wanted,
because it's kind of like, there's a little bit of like, if you're an alcoholic and you're like, all right, I'm gonna quit drinking, and then you're like, you know what though, I'm just gonna have a couple beers tonight. It seems like, you know what I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be a hard road, a slippery slope to slip back down. Yeah. So you must have had a really good mindset change. I
think I was like, I felt so like free after I stopped doing all that stuff. The issue was the nighttime, because I would like, a lot of times during the day I kept myself busy. I didn't want to like sit and think about food, calories, think about what I looked like. And then at night it was like my hardest, like that was when I was maybe like, I would say as close to that, like, I'll just have a few beers, like, bro, I'll just give myself 2,000 calories. Like that was my hardest, was falling asleep at night, because I would just go through everything, and I'm not following the regimen anymore. So like, it was really difficult. But I started working out. I don't really remember. I think I just started working out a couple of times a week, when before I was working out every day. Yeah, and just doing very like basic like leg day, squats, and 2 other exercises. That's it. Just squats and like RDLs and accessory.
I can't believe you weren't there for me on that one, Echo.
What?
Echo's occasionally he gets a good hell yeah in there, especially about something like that.
Oh
yeah. So you start working out again, you're walking, and when I wouldn't want to do it,
I would just
be
not.
Like, okay, no factor.
I would just not.
Yeah. That's good. You end up coming home after your sophomore year for summer, and at the end of summer, we all went to the Origin Jiu Jitsu camp in Maine. Did you want to go?
No.
I don't think anyone in my family.
Well, that summer, Fran and I, that's what I was talking about earlier on. Fran, my sister and I were going to like no-gi classes like Thursday, just to beat each other up. Like we just thought it was fun. And then my dad texted in the family group chat like, family Origin trip camp, smiley face.
Freaking hostile.
I was like, bruh.
Hostile freaking family right here.
Yeah.
And all the girls from the family went.
Yeah.
The boy couldn't go. But you got there. And what happened?
Magic. I'm just kidding. I didn't do all the sessions. Maybe I did. I think I did a lot of the sessions. I'm like, I'm here. And then everyone was rolling. And like this person asked me to roll, and I was like, sure. And I just like, I was like, bro, this is so fun. And I remembered stuff, even though I did a little bit of like club wrestling in college, but like nothing serious. That was before COVID. And then it was so fun. So much fun. And I remembered stuff. And I got the sense of like that I didn't get when I was a kid. It was like beating someone for once. And yeah, it was pretty awesome. And also just surrounded by such like cool coaches, and like, it was just sick, and I was honestly kind of like bummed because I was like, damn, I'm like a white belt, you know? And I was like 20. Yeah. So I was like, oh, darn it. But I came home. I went back to college.
Wait, why darn it? Because you didn't start earlier? Or
yeah, because
like
I was like,
out?
Dude, this is so fun, and I like all the girls from the family lined up, and I was like a white belt, and we were all white belts. And I'm like, I feel like, oh, damn it, you know what I mean? A little bit, but I wasn't like super bummed at myself. I was just like, oh, this is really fun.
Helen revoked herself to white belt, huh? Helen was a blue belt.
Wait, from Fabio?
Yeah.
Oh,
Fabio
she can't
Santos.
do that. She got to wear that blue belt. You don't lose a belt.
I somewhat agree with you, but I'm not gonna.
She didn't want.
That's not
she
my
didn't
fight.
Want any,
that's
like,
not my fight to have over here, bro.
But
Big H gonna do what Big H gonna do.
Well, we were rolling together at the camp, or we were doing the technique together, and it was super fun.
Yeah.
And I was like kind of getting after it.
Yeah. The thing is, Helen is like really athletic and also really strong. So when she was training back in the day, she was like really good. And then she just got pregnant for like 10 years. And she just and had kids. Like she's like, you got 3 kids, dude. Like you're not training when you got 3 kids under the age of 6. Like you're under the age of 5, under the age of 4. Yep. So she didn't train, but she still like.
And I was like helping her with the moves, and I was like, "Oh, you're a blue belchie, and I'm a white belchie helping you." All right.
Well, look, I'm not gonna make a big thing out of this, but your belt is not up to you. Okay. It's not up to you. It's up to the guy who gave you the belt.
Yeah.
So you can't be like, "Hey," just like you can't say, "Hey, I'm good enough to wear a blue belt" when you're still a white belt. Helen can't be like, "You know what? I've been kind of studying up, so I think I should be a purple belt." Can't do that. You can't do it the other way either. Can't do it anyway. You know why? Because it's not up to you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave you guys with that.
Okay.
Please.
Well, I'll let you bring that up to Helen.
I'm not gonna tell her that. No.
So then you get back to college, and now you got a little bit of like the desire to train the jiu-jitsu. And you go to Paragon SLO.
Yeah, I searched up jiu-jitsu gyms near me. Clicked on like the first one. Booked the class online and just like showed up at noon in the gi.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, and I was just training a couple of times a week.
One time you called me after like a week and you were crying.
Yeah.
Explain.
So yeah, I FaceTimed my dad. And all this, my dad was not in my ear. Like, you should go try out a jiu-jitsu gym. You should look one up. Paragon's good. I was like, I looked it up. I didn't even tell you I was going to my first class. I think I called you after or something.
Oh, I think a brother paid for it over here, but that's just me.
No, it was free. It was a free first class.
I was saying after that first one, after that invoice rolled in, I think Big Papa got the call in.
But yeah, it was very fun. I just like, I honestly have always like loved fighting. I just think that things clouded in my mind in wrestling. That's all. Like, I think I really like did love wrestling. I just like had other stuff in my mind that kind of decreased my love for it. Like at state, I feel like I like wasn't even present there because I was like worried about other stuff, you know? Like I feel like this was my second like chance to cause I did love fighting. So I start doing jiu-jitsu. You
brought that up earlier. You brought that up earlier, and I'm just going to rehash on this. You were saying like, even though you would complain about jiu-jitsu even when you were little, when you would go against someone else in class, like you would go to win.
100%.
Like you like to fight and you like to win. And that was evident. And then we just had some kind of a mob mentality going on. But yeah, so that it might have gotten clouded in wrestling in your senior year because you're like worried about weight and calories and all that stuff. So now you show up and now you realize you can just fight people.
And I saw wrestling like as just a thing to input into my like app. It wasn't even like I was like, okay, bro, when's the hour going to be over? Like, so I can put down an hour of working out, you know? But when I found jiu-jitsu again, like I didn't have the app. I didn't have a tracker. I would just go, and I wouldn't even look at the clock. Genuinely, the hour would go by so quickly. It was just like you just wanted to keep rolling. Like, let's just stay. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's like that shift of doing something because like for the right reasons instead of the wrong. And jiu-jitsu like helped me so much with that.
Back to the question I asked about when you called me when you were crying after a week. Just it's a good lesson for everybody.
Yeah. I was crying because I think I exaggerated in my head that no one wanted to roll with me. And
she's been there for a week.
Yeah. I've been there for a week, and I was like, I just left. I was like, all the guys are picking each other. No one wants to roll with me. But no one knew me. Like, I didn't like introduce myself to anyone. Like, I was just like, they don't want to roll with me. Even though I wasn't like, hey, my name is Rana, can we roll? I was just like in the corner, like not making eye contact. Like, bro, no one wants to roll with you. because especially I've heard from a lot of guys that they wait for the girl to like make eye contact so that you can roll, right? And I was just like, not looking at all. And I called my dad. I'm like, no one wants to roll with me, and everyone's friends, and everyone during the warm-ups is like in their little groups, and I was just like alone. But I didn't introduce myself to anyone. I just walked in silent, sat down, and that's that. But I call him, I'm like bawling. I still have a picture from it. I'm just like, no one wants to roll with me. And he goes like, he said, just stick with it. Thousands of people come and go, especially in jiu-jitsu. Like, people sign up to try it out and then they leave. These people don't want to make friends with someone that's there for one day and then dip. Although everyone at Paragon was really, really sweet and nice. Yeah. It's just how it is, I guess. And then the longer I stuck around, I called my dad like a couple of weeks later. I said, I have like a friend group and I'm going to lunch with them after open mat. It was really cute because, and also it's so funny because it's like all such people that I would never interact with. Like, I'm in college. I'm like hanging out with people that are 20 years old, same as me. And I'm going to lunch with like this random 40-year-old construction worker dude and like this other guy who's an engineer. And then, it's like, I swear people are like, what's going on over there? But, they were so awesome and like looked out for me. Like, and once they knew that I was going to stick around, they brought me in like so quickly and were helping me roll with me, like show me technique. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. You were telling me that like now this was something that you were doing where you were doing it. There's like basically a non-vanity exercise. You're doing it just because it is freaking fun.
Yeah, 100%. And also it helped me a lot with those like with just shutting off your mind, which is it's not always good necessarily always to shut off your mind, because you have to like confront the things that you are thinking. Like, that's your brain. But for an hour, especially when the thoughts are like not helping in any way, it's just going back and forth. Like, this is not helping me. I need to go do something that takes my mind off of it. And like lifting, it's just kind of monotonous. Like, I like lifting. You're still thinking about things like when you're lifting, or when I was lifting at least. And when I was doing jiu-jitsu, like I seriously would go out and be like, bruh, like what was I even like, I'm like, I didn't even think about one thing that is outside of the mat. Like, I was just like so interested in it and like wanted to learn, wanted to like get better, wanted to fight. Like, I just thought it was so fun. And it helped me so much with building back my relationship with exercise.
And you started competing too pretty quick. Yeah.
My friend, like I started training. Like, I trained a couple days a week, and then I was training every day. And then my friend was like, should we do this competition? And
Alex?
Yeah.
Alex Tavs.
Shout out
Alex
Tavs.
Shout out
Tavs.
He was like, let's do this competition. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. It was like Jiu Jitsu World League. We had to drive like 3 hours to get there or something. And It was fun. It was good.
How'd you do?
Good. I got like 3rd or 2nd in gi and 1st in no gi. It was good.
Even though you're training mostly gi at that time?
I was training a lot of gi. Yeah, there was one day that was no gi. They're more of like a traditional school. And honestly, it was really, I look back and I'm grateful that I trained gi because I think if I started anywhere else and they had no gi options, I would never have gone to gi. I seriously would never have. And gi is so frustrating, especially like as a wrestler. And I did like when I got the feeling to train jiu-jitsu, it would always be no gi, like with me and my sister. And so 4 days of the week and open mat was all gi. So
gi it is.
That just showed that I was like, bro, I don't like gi, but I'm gonna do it.
But it's also interesting that you won no gi even though you weren't training it.
Well, I was
It's because you have the wrestling background and you have some of your jiu-jitsu was no gi based from back in the day.
Yeah.
When was that viral video? Was that year?
Yeah, that was at that competition.
Oh, was that competition?
Yeah. My first tournament back.
Oh my gosh.
So you saw the video, right?
Did you see the viral video?
Yeah, it's
So basically it was like semifinals for no gi, and it was both of our first competitions. I'm pretty sure. I talked to her, and I like locked in a choke, and I did not know. I was like, oh, she's chilling, because it's competition. People don't tap, and I thought it wasn't like secure enough, and I was just like, she was belly down.
Yeah, so she was belly down. You had hooks in.
It was pretty.
But she was flattened, and you had your hooks in.
Yeah.
So which was weird about that. The reason that's important is because her legs weren't like laying on the ground limp because of your legs being in there. Her legs looked like she was like active, but you put her to sleep.
Yeah.
And the ref didn't know.
The ref was standing up, and I didn't really know what to do. I definitely should have let go, but I was so traumatized by it after.
Well, hold on. Also, just real quick, the coaches, or I don't know if it's the coaches, but people were also, while she was unconscious, because once you watch the video, you're like, oh, she's asleep right there.
I was looking up at the ref like.
But coaches were like, or I don't know if coaches, but people on her side, on her supporters, were like, grab the hand.
Oh yeah.
So you hearing people coaching her, that's another indicator to you. Just like, okay, well, just hang on. And finally, her coach realized what was happening and ran in and stopped it.
Pushed me off of her.
Yeah.
The ref didn't stop the match.
Yeah, the coach did.
But yeah, so they flipped her over and she was like purple.
Yeah. So the coach came in, finally broke it up, and then it kind of went viral because you have a person that gets choked out, and it's clear that the ref was, and you both were white belts.
Yeah.
The ref eventually figured out, the coach came in and stopped it. So the reason it went viral was because
the ref didn't stop it.
The ref
was
not
the coach
stopping.
came
Everyone
on
was
the mat, pushed me off.
and the coach wasn't mad at you at all.
No.
He was mad at the ref. So yeah, and you called me and you were all bummed out and like all sad and like, as you just said, quote unquote, traumatized.
Well, I in the moment, I like it was really like scary. I never put anyone out before.
Yep.
And I was like squeezing that choke too. Yeah. Like it was like no.
And when you put a choke on, when you put anything on, because you're strong,
a little kid can choke you out.
Oh yeah,
too.
Of course. That's the crazy thing. I tell people this. When you're learning, like you teach someone that's just learning jiu-jitsu, the rear naked choke, it's like, now you can kill someone.
Yeah.
And they're all freaked out. But you know what's even crazier than that? Take a steak knife. You can kill someone just as easy with a steak knife. Just walk up and stick it in their freaking neck. They're going to die. But people get all freaked out when there's really, like every time you start up your car, you can kill somebody. Life is not, that robust and sturdy that you can survive a bunch of things. So I remember you called me and I had to, be understanding, but at the same time I said, hey, there's 10 people that get choked out at every jiu-jitsu tournament. 10 people go to sleep. 10 people are going to sleep. I said, no one's going to care about this. I go, other than the ref, I go to be, some people watch it, some people make comments, but whatever, don't worry about it. And so I think that might have helped a little bit. Well, what really helped you is you went to class on Monday, because I called you after you left class on Monday.
I didn't even want to train. Like, I was embarrassed. I don't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I went to class and they were like, good job.
Yeah, good job at the tournament. They weren't even like, good job. No, there's like, hey, good job at the tournament. I heard you won.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh,
just
you didn't hear that I choked someone out? No, we don't care about any of that.
And the girl's good, by the way. I like messaged her and her coach and like apologized, and they were like, you don't. We understand.
Yeah, that girl seemed chill.
Yeah, she was really nice.
And then you just kept competing. You've been competing, and you're kind of wrapping up college. But what I liked is right towards the end of college, you learned one thing, very important thing, and that was your dad, me. Despite maybe not approaching it in the best way, I was actually right. And the way that I was right was, you were a nutrition science major, but you also had a minor in what?
Exercise and sports studies.
And for one of those classes, you had to do a DEXA scan. DEXA scan. And that is, it basically checks your body, your bone density, your muscle density, and it looks at you like internally and sees what you're constructed of. And you got it done.
Yep.
And you sent me the image because your actual density was off. It was the highest possible point on the chart. Like, there was no one else there. It was 99.99th percentile of humans. Dang. Is what you are made of.
There you go.
So I was like, you sent me that. I was like, I told you. I was right. Like, you are not normal.
Dense.
You are dense. Like, it's actually called a densitometry. That's what it's called, densitometry. And it measures how dense you are. And that's why when you were a little kid, I would pick you up and be like, is this girl made of metal? Because she's heavy. And of course, I recognize now that is not the best wording to use, especially for a girl. And this is when you were real little, but it's funny because you ever heard Joe Rogan tell the story about Yoel Romero? So Yoel Romero he got punched in the head. I think he broke his orbital bone, and they sent him to the hospital, and they did x-rays, and some doctor calls Dana White or Joe Rogan or something and is like, yo, where did you find this guy? And they're like, what do you mean? They're like, where is he from? This is not normal. And they said, what's not normal? They x-rayed him, and the tendons in his eyes were like 3 times the size of a normal human. And that's why that guy is just a maniac, right? I mean, he's literally built different. He's built different. And that's what you are. You're actually scientifically built different. It's a weird genetic thing. And it's like some things genetic, you can take a little bit of genetic and you can also add some conditioning, like cold water, right? Like we were talking earlier about like dunking your heads, and I would have contests to see who could dunk your heads. But there's some people that are naturally going to be able to handle the cold better than other people. You got to see this in SEAL training. If you have a guy that's like, maybe he's from Florida, maybe he's like ripped, like shredded, he's going to have a hard time in the cold. Then you get some guy from Nebraska, and he's well marbled, and he's just like, whatever, dude, I'll get in that cold. But then you can also get used to it. You can increase your ability to handle cold water. And you guys were always doing that. I remember when you were little kids, we were at Yosemite one time, and the water in Yosemite coming out of the river, Echo Charles, it's coming from, ice, and it's flowing down. So it's not frozen anymore, but it's 43 degrees, something like that. And so I had a contest with the kids who can stay in the longest. And her and her brother were in there. And this is cold water. This is hypothermia water. And whoever could stay in the longest would get an ice cream. Dude, my kids would do freaking anything for an ice cream.
Makes sense.
So I put them in there, and they're in there probably 42-degree water. It's freaking cold.
Yeah.
And they're just neck deep, just looking at me. 30 minutes. I'm looking at them, waiting for one of them to DOR. Neither one of them was quitting. And I like get in and look at their lips. Both their lips are blue. All their lips are blue. And I just gave them both an ice cream cone.
Yeah, good idea.
But see, there's a level of this. Part of that's genetic. Part of it's just mental will.
Yeah.
And part of it is conditioning. But like your density as a human, that's different. That's like a genetic thing. And that's what, Rogan, I was told Rogan because you actually, Rana, told me that he had something. He like said one time, I want a girl who can help me move a couch. So I sent him that thing. I actually sent him the graph. And I'm like, I circled it with red because if you didn't circle it with red, it's so far off the chart you wouldn't see it.
It's on the border.
Yeah, there's like the
chart.
edge.
I'm not even kidding.
The edge of the chart. There it is. Like there's no one else there.
Yeah.
And so I circled it and I explained it to him. And I told him, I said, hey, you say, my daughter said you want a girl who can help you move a couch. And I told him, I'm like, dude, if you need a couch moved, like this girl's got it. Solo activities. But the thing is though, is it's just interesting because you have this special, genetic gift, and because of society and because of me, and just like you were embarrassed of this gift that you had, you know what I mean? And that's just terrible. So I'm glad that wrestling and jiu-jitsu has brought it to a point where you recognize the glory of it.
But it's not just genetics though, because we've been lifting since we were like so young. And lifting, we learned in like college, was like helps your bones get so strong. And I think like lifting from such a young age and really like implementing that since we were in elementary school, you would make us get up and do workouts in the morning before school.
I think all children can benefit from kettlebells in the morning.
There you go.
I remember I would have like these Metcons set up.
Sure.
And they would be carrying the kettlebells up the alley, racing, and then kettlebell swings, pull-ups. Sprawls was a real big one. Sprawls was an early form of the burpee. Yeah. Or burpees themselves. But I would always have my kids sprawling, sprawl. Here's a very solid workout for your children. Every minute on the minute, 5 burpees.
I thought it was 5 pull-ups. Oh, yeah.
No, 5 burpees and then max pull-ups. Or 5 burpees, max dips. Or 5 burpees, max some other. You can pick any other exercise. But, 5 burpees takes, depending, 15 to 30 seconds, depending on how hard your child is working. Sure. And how much you need to discipline them. But then they have 30 seconds. But it's a crushing way to work out.
Especially when your 2 siblings are doing it with you and they did 5 pull-ups. And so you want to do a little bit more than them.
So that was good. But it was kind of redeeming. When I saw that chart, bro, I was very excited about it. I was like, because it seemed so obvious, it seemed real. Right. And now it's like, well, there you go. Yeah. Science. Yep. Factual. And then from there, when you graduated college, then it was time to put that gift to use. Now you're down here in San Diego. You work at Victory MMA and Fitness. You teach jiu-jitsu. You train jiu-jitsu. You train primarily at Victory MMA and Legion AJJ. Yes, sir. Sorry about that. They're Keenan and Miha.
Yeah, gotta differentiate.
Yeah, gotta differentiate that one. what's your schedule like when you wake up in the morning?
Jiu-Jitsu all the time, every day. I started training at Legion when Victory had the fire in it, and there was nowhere to train. I trained in my friend's garage who had mats and would train in the morning, but that was at 6 a.m. And the rest of the day I was like, I didn't have a job because the gym burned down. They were finding a temporary location, and I still wanted to compete. And I really had never tried out another gym in San Diego because Victory is here. Yeah. And I tried out a class at Legion because my dad, you.
Yeah, me.
Who's also my dad, is friends with Sloan and Miha and Keenan. Yeah. He would train with them, cross-train. And I started taking Sloan's classes and Jay Flo's classes and training with Paige, who is insanely good at jiu-jitsu. And now that there's a temporary location, I started cross-training, and it's been amazing. I have such good training partners and coaches at Victory and at Legion, so it's good. Can't complain. And then I love teaching the kids. It's so amazing. And my schedule, just train jiu-jitsu in the morning, come home, eat breakfast, go train jiu-jitsu again, do J-Flow's classes twice a week, have a private with Paige and J-Flow, and just lift as much as I can, and teach the kids too.
Yeah, teaching kids, coaching kids. You're always at tournaments coaching kids. Are you in the sauna ice bath game?
Not really.
Are you more? Well, you definitely do them sometimes, but you're just like a weekend warrior when it comes to those things or something.
In the beginning, I was like super into it.
Into what part?
Into the sauna ice bath. I just slacking, bro.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, but I like.
Doesn't it make you feel good?
It does, but like, I don't know. The day is long of training. I don't.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like. Ugh.
Don't you feel like it gives you recovery though?
Yeah, what I was gonna say was when I started wrestling again, with J-Flow is basically only wrestling, and I really did a lot of jiu-jitsu on the ground. In Paragon, we really didn't wrestle that often, and I didn't really wrestle that much, like, since high school. And when I started taking J-Flow's classes, it was a gut check, straight rounds on the feet, no pulling guard. Lots of times we're just doing like wrestling rounds, just get your 2 points, come back up. And my like middle back, just from like my stance and holding my head up and getting my head like pushed down, getting slammed, getting like judo thrown in the most elegant way. Bro, my middle back was really hurting. And the sauna, that's when I started implementing the sauna. Yeah. A lot, doing a stretching routine in the sauna for like a couple of weeks, and that like helped so much. But yeah, just training jiu-jitsu and lifting.
What are you eating?
Eating good. Yeah. There's no like, I don't follow a strict diet or anything. There's no like specific animal based like keto. I don't do any of that. Just I do eat red meat though, lots of it, and yeah, just trying to get protein in the morning. Like I normally will have like a milk or protein pancakes or something of that sort, just because I have heinous. I probably just trained heinously, and then I have heinous training after.
Yeah, I can confirm that you drink a lot of freaking milk in our house. So.
I like this. I like making like smoothies with it, like the powder.
Yeah. So a few months ago, I had some people visit down here in San Diego. They were making a movie called Way of the Warrior Kid, and obviously in the movie Way of the Warrior Kid, there's going to be kids that are doing jiu-jitsu, and the producer and the director, or one of the producers and the director, were like, hey, do you know anyone that could like help us with training the kids up in jiu-jitsu? And this is McGee and Ben Everard. And they're like, hey, do you have anyone that could help us train the kids in jiu-jitsu? And I said, I think I might have the ultimate person for that. So you came up and helped out training these two kids, Ava Torres and Jude Hill, who play Mark and Nora in the movie Way of the Warrior Kid. And you came up and trained them in jiu-jitsu. How did you like that?
It was so fun. It was so last minute, because you were like, we got to check on the budget for the movie and stuff. And I was like, all right, I teach kids jiu-jitsu. Like we'll try to get it covered for as many weeks as I can. Mm-hmm. And so I went up, I think you told me like Saturday.
Yeah.
And I went up on like Monday.
Yeah.
And it was so awesome. And it was interesting because normally jiu-jitsu is such a long journey. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about my jiu-jitsu journey. It's been like over a decade.
Yeah. You just got your purple belt too, by the way. Hey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Purple belty.
Yeah, right big time.
Okay.
And so it was going to be sort of different because with the kids classes, you only want to teach 1 or 2 moves a day because, bro, everyone just wants to roll.
Yeah.
And also they're not retaining, like even I can't pay attention to more than a couple moves in a jiu-jitsu class. Mm-hmm. So, but for this one, it wasn't like we had all this time to teach them jiu-jitsu, and Ava had to be like higher rank in the movie. So we had like 3 hours a day of just straight up technique, and they were troopers. For real. It can be so to make it look technical and good, and I know that was your vision for the Way of the Warrior Kid. We didn't want it to look like silly, like martial art, like whatever. So it was a cool challenge for me because it's different from teaching the kids at Victory. It was like, we have to do this, and I wanted them to understand understand jiu-jitsu, because we did have some impromptu scenes where they were like, okay, do something. And I was like, oh, and we thankfully we went over a bunch of stuff that we hadn't planned on putting in it.
You were a fight coordinator for sure.
Yeah.
What about even before we started filming, you came up, and when you were helping, because you were right up with me, you were like sitting in meetings. You were in casting meetings and with me and McGee and Ben and Mary, just like looking at people. Like, wasn't that?
Yeah, it was
and
crazy.
you also were there when we were going through the script line by line. Were you there for that meeting?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, so you're there.
That was right when I got there.
Line by line. And you could see how this all comes to fruition, as you said. Like the all the things that went into it. That had to be awesome to watch.
Yeah, it was honestly crazy. Because when I went, I didn't know the progress of the movie yet. Mm-hmm. So like having it called, like the whole floor was all for Warrior Kid. Mm-hmm. And I remember
floor of a building, she's saying, Echo Charles. Like this entire floor of this building
and it's a bunch of people too. It's
hundreds.
not I fully was like, it's gonna be a couple of dudes. Like like I was like, all right, let's see what's gonna happen. But this guy comes up to Dad and is like, has the exact replica of his like glasses. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what? And he's like, did I get this part right? Mm-hmm. And he faded them. Yeah. And he made them, and I was like, bro. And then he pulls out his watches, and I'm like, dude, what is going on? This is crazy. That was his job, and he killed
Eric,
it.
Head of props, yeah.
Damn. And it was so like technical. What he was pointing out, I was like, bro, they're focusing on that little thing. That's like that must be legit.
Yep.
So then I sat in on one of the script readings, and it was so good. The director, McGee, I listened to The Warrior Kid. I was like, all right. But he would stand up in every scene. He would stand up and say, all right, Jocko, stand up with me so we can act this out. And I was literally like, bro, this is so good. It was crazy. And that was when it sort of clicked to me, like this is not just going to be like a movie about like like I got bullied and did jiu-jitsu. It was like there's so many more elements to it that are in the movie and thought by the writers, and it's so like elaborate and it's amazing. And the set was crazy too. Like the amount of hands needed on that set was wild and so much fun. But coaching the kids was really cool. It was their first time doing jiu-jitsu, and their parents were watching like, what the heck is going on? Because I was like, okay, these are the 4 positions. I didn't really, because it's what I'm surrounded by all the time. And I train with guys, I train with girls. It literally, like, I don't pay much attention as I should to things like that, to people maybe feeling uncomfortable.
For us, jiu-jitsu is just, we don't think of it as this, the most contact sport that there is, period, end of story. There is no sport that's more close contact than jiu-jitsu. It's just the most close contact. And I knew that. So as we were introducing, like, both Jude and Ava's mom are there. And I'm like, hey, this thing we're about to do is real, a lot of close contact, very, very,
and I'm almost happy I didn't really think about it, because I was literally just acting like I was coaching Victory. This is so fun, making them so comfortable, which was like my top priority, because I wanted them to work like well together. Because same thing, having someone that you have, they're your partner, that's such a key thing. And they worked so well together. What I was going to say was, when I first started training jiu-jitsu, I would be like confused about women's classes. I would be confused about like separate classes, because I was like, what do you mean? Like because I grew up around it. I literally grew up like having freaking
jiu-jitsu since you were
breathing
6
in my
years
ear.
old,
Like I was like, all right. And then I wrestled and I was confused. I was like, why? And now when I start with girls, they say when they grab my wrist, I'm like, bro, you got to grab my wrist. This isn't like this. You need to put your weight on me. I'll be fine. But this is what I realized about jiu-jitsu for women is like, that is one of the main concerns. And I never even really if I'm grabbing your wrist, bro, it's going to be like with like, I'm not going to let go, you know? But like teaching, I understand the girls class now, because,
and by girls you mean girls and
women
classes,
yeah. And I understand it to like a level where I seriously was like, why would they do that? And now I understand, talking to so many girls that first started jiu-jitsu, just having like just learning how to put your weight on someone is so foreign to a lot of women that it feels so like weird. And like I understand that would be weird in like a class if you've never done it before. So that's one thing that I try to help with, like especially the girls in classes, is like even if they're paired with a guy, it's just like making them comfortable, being like, bro, they're gonna be fine, they're tough, you can put your weight on them, you know. I even
talk about that from a self-defense perspective, is if you've never had someone freaking grab onto you,
it's gonna be scary.
There's 3 seconds to 5 seconds to maybe even you don't snap out of it, of shock, of just like, like you're just not used to it.
Even when I'm rolling now and I've trained like jiu-jitsu and wrestling, if I can't get a dude off of me in side control, I like freak out. And I'm like, I'm like so seasoned that it would, you wouldn't think it would, but I'm like, dude, this is like crazy. I like simply can't get him off of me, and that's scary.
No, I feel that way sometimes too, to be honest with you.
I think that's a normal thing.
Yeah. McG. Yeah. What the crazy thing is, so McG, he like came down here, like, and met me and was like, this is what I realized. McG had the vision in his head. Like he could see, because I can't see a movie in my head. I can see a jiu-jitsu move in my head. I can see an assault on a target in my head. I can see surfing a wave in my head, but I can't see a movie in my head because I've never done that before. But McG,
He sees it.
He could see it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I realized. Like when he was down here talking to me, he was trying to explain to me what he could see. And I was like, even then, it'd be like me trying to explain to someone that didn't surf, like, no, and then the curls, like the lip starts to come over your head, and if
you're
you
like,
surf,
can you see it? And you're
if
like,
you
no,
surf, you
I
can
can't.
see it. But if you don't surf, you're just like,
you're like, all right, dude.
And I didn't realize it until like it was probably it was while we were filming. We were shooting a scene, and I remembered him describing this to me, and I was like, oh, Mick G saw this in his head. When he read the script, he saw what this would and could look like. And I was like, oh, and he has this for the whole movie.
Yeah.
The whole thing. Not every single little detail, because as you see, when we're up there, we're flexing and we're making moves and we're making changes and all that stuff's cool. But he had the framework and some of the scenes, the specifics in his head of like, I know what this is supposed to look like. And that's what we got to do. Jude and Ava, when you met them, were you like, because I was like, oh my gosh, they're like
they're
like,
perfect.
They're so good for the roles.
Yeah, and they were so like eager to learn something new and just jumping right into it because we didn't have much time and
I think they may have been the most willing and actively positive students I've ever seen. Like to be that passionate about wanting to learn is, I get it, but I've never seen a kid that realizes, oh, I'm going to have to be doing this in a very short period of time. I need to pay attention. I need to figure this out. Wait, show me that again. How does that work? They were both so into it and worked so hard to make it happen. And then how did you feel in the filming? Because you're in the movie.
Hell yeah.
It was like crazy. The first day, I think we filmed one scene like the whole time.
Yeah.
Just for hours and hours. And we were just like chilling there.
Do you remember what scene it was?
It was, yeah.
What was it? I don't remember.
It was when he takes his socks off.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, he kept having to put his
because he had to put his socks in.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was really cool because when we were training, so you learn moves of Jiu Jitsu, and then, but you can tell when someone hasn't like rolled before, because it's very stagnant trying to do the move. But when we practiced, like I was like past her guard, and after this was like day 2 or day 3, and they were like
going for it,
looking like kids that were in my class. And I think that was a key element to it. It wasn't just like, here's a move, because that's
not the jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that's what J-Flow says, movement over moves.
J-Flow.
I
Noted.
quote. But yeah, so I taught them moves, but they knew that they had to be off balance to do the scissor sweep. They weren't just trying to do it like Coach Rana told me to do this move, and I have to
Coach
push
Rana
her
told
over.
me right foot here, left arm there, pull this here.
They were doing both sides. They were pulling on the collar. They were like making their weight go forward, which was so crazy because it genuinely, like their scene where they're rolling looks good.
Yeah, it looks great. Echo Charles, what was your assessment of, because you are also in the movie.
It's true.
And you brought a lot of excellence and legitimacy to the scene.
Apparently.
As was noted by Mick G himself.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Was it what you expected? Because you obviously have a much heavier background in film. And so you've done this before. What surprised you about the whole thing?
Well, a few things. What it takes to get everything going. I was impressed with how efficient it was and how it all worked together, but I think that varies from set to set. The recreation of the set was very impressive. There was a time, I don't know if you were in the same boat, Rana, where I was like, man, this is kind of cool this time of day, where the sun is coming in perfect right now with the mist, and like, bro, this is going to look good on film. I remember thinking that. And then like hours pass, I'm like, bro, we better hurry up. Because when this sun starts to, like switch position or whatever, we're going to kind of lose this look. But I'm like, whatever. These are professionals. They know what they're doing. They're going to hurry up. They're not hurrying. They're like, hours pass. I'm like, bro, the sun is in the same exact spot. And then I realized that these were like, actually, it's not the sun. They had blocked the sun, actually. These are like actual lights.
They had blocked the street.
Yeah.
And outside, at the angle that the sun would be appropriate for that time of day that they want it to look that way, that's the sun.
It looked like
a freaking giant.
It felt like the sun, too.
To me, it was the sun.
Yeah.
It was 100%.
It's so trippy.
I'm 46 years old. I know what the sun looks like. I'm not some kid who's like gets tricked by some light or whatever. Bro, but that was good. I remember one very specific time where we're filming in the Jiu Jitsu class, and they're talking and all this stuff, and me and my family, we know the Warrior Kid books. We read that thing like multiple. And so we know the lines. I know the lines or whatever. And to see real professional actors with a scene, with and to see it like come to life, I remembered like getting like chicken skin.
Yeah.
It's like, dang, man, these guys are nailing it right now. And then you look on the monitor.
Yeah. Because it looks even better.
Way better even. So yeah, in the moment you're like, man, this is such a cool production. Like, this is official. We're good to go. And then you see it on the monitor and you're like blown away, man. Just because it's like a whole nother level up, as far as the production. So that was another one. And yeah, just how okay, so you might not know this about me, but I've been in an acting scenario before. I've been in front of the camera before, whatever, right? And you know how like,
was this your movie?
Well, many, many different times.
Whoa, hold on. What do you mean many?
I'm just saying, here on the podcast, I know how it is when the cameras are rolling.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Okay.
So, all right. But when you see like actual, when you see actual professional actors just doing like their thing, you're like, oh man, there's like levels to the whole deal, So that was very impressive. And from and also too like the humility of like the professionals on set, we'll say, like that was impressive as well.
Yeah, and they made, unfortunately we couldn't film in the actual Victory MMA because of the fire, so we made Legacy MMA, which is a gym up there. They made it into a Victory and brought all the branding in there, and it's freaking amazing.
That was a good take on it. Yeah.
Yep. Like it's impressive. Ava and Jude wrote me notes about you, Rana. Ava said, "Hey, Coach Rana, I hope you're doing great. I'm so proud of your accomplishments in jiu-jitsu right now. I watch how amazing you are on Instagram. You're such an amazing coach and martial artist. I look up to you so much, and I'm thinking about training in jiu-jitsu when I get back home. All thanks to you and my incredible Warrior Kid experience. I know you're doing such great things, and I really miss you. And I do hope we get the chance to train together again because I truly learned a lot from you, and I had a blast. You're so inspiring and motivating with a heart of gold, which is what I hope to do for all the Noras out there through our movie, Way of the Warrior Kid. See you soon, Coach. I love you, and I'm so honored to know you."
Aww.
And Jude wrote this, "Rana! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, that's 4. Exclamation.
It's 4? Jude.
And he starts off with this, "You are seriously the coolest person I know."
Aww.
Now, I might have to talk to him about that.
No.
Because, I guess I
think you guys met before that, too.
He said, "You are seriously the coolest person I know. Your hard work and dedication to jiu-jitsu is unmatched by anyone. Even just being around you is empowering. Those few weeks we spent together training will never be forgotten. I started off knowing absolutely nothing about jiu-jitsu. You not only taught me the fundamentals and showed me how to look good on camera, but you also inspired me to continue my training off camera back home in Florida. Plus, you are literally the original Warrior Kid."
Period.
Love Jude. So you got some fans from the movie. You also got some fans from the assembly. The Echelon Front Women's Assembly. So what happened? Was it last year you went and taught jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah. So Assembly 01, they asked me and Katie to help with the jiu-jitsu. We honestly did not know how many women were going to show up to the jiu-jitsu part, and it's the last part of the event too. So we were kind of like,
So real quick, the Assembly is a women's leadership conference that's run by Jamie Cochran and the rest of the team at Echelon Front, but it's for women, and there's been 2 of them, And yeah, so it's been hugely successful and everyone's having a great time, but it's similar to the muster, except for the muster is co-ed, and Jamie wanted to create something just for women. And actually it was jiu-jitsu that made me realize why, because I used to not understand why. Same as you, I used to be like, why would you have women and men and women's class? It's all the same. But there's a barrier to overcome in walking on the mat as a woman when there's a bunch of freaking sweaty dudes there. Well, it's a similar thing with leadership. Like, oh, they want to hear about leadership perspective, not from me, but from another woman or other women. So that's essentially, Jamie explained that to me. I was like, hey, roger that, go for it. So it's been awesome. But at the muster, we do jiu-jitsu the last night. And so Jamie's like, we'll do it too. So Katie, who works at Echelon Front, is a brown belt, and you are going to teach jiu-jitsu. So, but then you ended up like getting all crazy.
Well, okay, so this is the thing. I didn't get crazy, but I was super, super excited to teach the jiu-jitsu. But Jamie comes up to us and said, hey, I'm just going to ask you like how you got into jiu-jitsu or whatever, what have you. Just a little intro. And the assembly was like, this was, when was that? Last year.
Yep,
so last year I was like on my little healing journey, you know, and only really spoke about it, my healing journey, with like my family and my like closest friends. But then I got this feeling inside, like, I feel like if I am just like, oh, how did I get into jiu-jitsu? My dad wanted me to do it, but I didn't like it. But then I came back to it. Like, something felt like not fully true about like being so chill about it, because it wasn't that like chill of an experience back to jiu-jitsu. And so other people were like being very vulnerable at the assembly. And I'm not one for vulnerability. I'd never like said anything to anyone, random people especially. So the night before the jiu-jitsu, so night one of the assembly, I'm like, I am going to at least share a little bit, like more than the bare bones of like what happened about me training jiu-jitsu. Then I started coming up with things to say, and I just like lost it. Like I just cried, and I went into the shower and like sobbed, snot like coming out of my nose, like just sobbing, not even like a tear. It was just like sobbing. I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to say all this stuff? And I'm not telling anyone I'm doing that. So it's just going to be kind of like, and I didn't want to cry that day, the day I did it, but I was like, it's going to happen. Like I can't, if I'm talking about such a sensitive subject, I feel like the first time I share it, like the first time those words are coming out of my mouth, it's going to be so hard to not, like I feel like now I feel more comfortable talking about it, but in that moment I was like, bro, but I just felt like I wanted to share a little bit more. So that night I'm like shaking. Then the day after, they're like, this is Rana, or like they said, introduce yourself. I said, my name is Rana, and jiu-jitsu and I have a very long relationship. And I just like I got more personal than like I ever had gotten with like random people or like someone that's not very close to me. And it felt like so amazing to share it. And there were 90% of the girls, it was their first time training jiu-jitsu. I didn't want to stand up there and sort of, I think it would have been fine if I just kind of was like, yeah, you know, it wasn't for me, and then it was. It would have been fine. It's just like, I wanted to be like, they're trying something new. Like, this is my, like, I want to go try something new. And then everyone was sobbing in the crowd, by the way. Got the tear jerkers. But then after, I just remember like bawling. I was like, I can't believe I did that. And it felt really good. I told my therapist, and she's like, no, you're like, and I got a bunch of DMs like, you helped me so much. It was very cute. And then, or like parents, moms that have daughters, And then I was like, wow, even though I didn't want to do it at all, and even I didn't even want to tell my own parents about what was going on. I just was like, if I can help someone, then I guess I'll share like something that I don't want to talk about, you know? So, and now I'm here.
Yeah. And you almost made it through the whole podcast without crying.
I know.
Well, I know it's going to help out a lot of people, and it's especially even from both ends, not only from like a daughter but also from the parents, like from my perspective, and like just how things that I did and things that I didn't do that I just was just unintentionally doing stuff that wasn't the best way to handle things, you know? And so, you know, I think it'll be helpful for both ends of the spectrum. And hopefully it'll just make everyone train jiu-jitsu.
Hopefully.
Boha. You even got Echo Charles over here. He's getting teared up. Come on now.
And then the year later, Jamie messaged me. He said, would you like to do an interview on the assembly, like assembly number 2? Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, gosh, I already went through the first time. And then I was like, I had that same feeling of like, I went through all this, and then I want to use it to like I'm like who I am today because I went through it, and I would like to share to help people because I don't want to go up on like a stage and like say how I struggled. No one wants to do that. Mm-hmm. But if it can help someone, then like that's fine with me. Mm-hmm. I'll take one for the team.
Did Jamie ask you, like, did she set you up for the same story basically?
Yeah, it was like how it was basically my relationship with like confidence and jiu-jitsu and doing, and not even just jiu-jitsu, just doing something that you're like doing something for yourself that will help you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, even when you, like, again, from my perspective, dude, you were on fire, like, with confidence as a kid.
I like wasn't though.
No, I know. That's this is a warning. This is like or at least it's a warning. Like, from my perspective, dude, I would see you in a crowd. I would see you with your friends. You were like very dynamic personality, and you were funniest kid and all that stuff. You did awesome in school. Like, everything looked so awesome. And I never had any indication that you were not the most confident person imaginable. And yeah, I didn't know. And again, that's a warning to everybody, you know, like, as much as you think you might know what's going on with your kids, there's going to be some things that you might have to sort of pry into a little bit, or ask better questions and build a better relationship, because nobody wants to like say what's going on, or at least a lot of times people don't want to say what's bad. Especially if you don't think it's that bad in your head too. Yeah.
And it was like easy for me because I was very like loud and funny in high school. Mm-hmm. And it was like, that's such an easy like cover up. If you start getting quiet, then it's like, bro, what's wrong with you? And it was just like, I liked it that way. I just didn't, I knew that if there was some other tinkering, then I wasn't going to have like full say in what I did. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, I'm just going to stay like loud, and no one like even questioned it really. Mm-hmm. Except one time my teacher was like, girl, are you good? I was like, yeah, I'm just cutting weight. Oh. And my teacher was like, okay, let me know.
Yeah, and again, that's like the perfect cover up, right? It's like the perfect cover up.
Oh, I just haven't. And he was a wrestler too. My coach, Mr. Compagnone.
Oh yeah,
King.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, he's a great teacher. Yeah. But yes, this is everything that you're saying, and even actually, as I was saying it, like everything that you were. It's not like, oh, I found a freaking crack pipe in my daughter's dorm room. What's like, oh, I found a food scale in my daughter's dorm room. Well, of course you did. She's a food scientist. She's going to college and she's healthy. Mm-hmm. Like, just think about, like, it's not like I found a empty bottle of vodka crammed behind her bed. No, instead I found rice cakes. You know what I mean? And like a calorie. Oh, she has what's a bad app that you could have on your phone? Like a dating app or something like, oh, my daughter has this dating app on her phone, Match.com. She's got Hinge. Like, there must be something wrong. No, it's like, oh, she has a health food tracker.
Yeah, it's like health.
Like everything in that category from the surface level and even like one level, maybe even 2 levels deep is all good to go. It's all good to go. And that's just a bizarre thing. Even like, oh, your daughter's really exercising a lot. Of course she is.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Hell yeah, she is. Of course she is. It's my daughter.
And that's totally fine to exercise a lot.
But you can make it psycho.
There's things, it's like, these things can have not a negative thing as well. It's like if this app, if someone wanted to lose weight in a healthy way, say they wanted to lose like half a pound a week or a quarter pound a week, and the apps gave them like
some help,
things to eat, and you can scan barcodes, that makes it so much easier rather than thinking, oh my God, that losing weight is such a hard task to do. Like these things can make it easier. And if people need to do it, these things can help for sure. And exercising helps. I mean, we all exercise.
Yeah, I mean, exercise makes you healthy. Exercise is awesome.
So you're not. It's not like it's just the way that it's just the way that it's used.
What are your goals now? What do you got going on? What do you want to do?
Jiu Jitsu world champion.
Good.
Okay.
And like helping, like just teaching kids for like a very long time. I seriously love teaching kids. It's like you can literally see them like transforming in front of your eyes. You think that you're teaching them. You would think that because you're teaching them some sort of like violent martial art that it's going to make them like worse or want to fight, but like it's so the opposite.
It's 100% the best
and
thing.
all the kids and all the parents will tell me like my kid is like paying attention in class more. Like ever since they started training jiu-jitsu, like they've actually been listening to us and like more disciplined, and like it's like such an awesome transformation to watch it, especially like kids that don't want to fight in the beginning, that don't want to do it. And then you just see them like get so into it. I have this girl named Emma, she's 6. And the first day her dad brought her in, she sat on the side with her dad. I came up to them, I said, do you want to fight? Do you want to try the lava game? And she said, no, I don't want to do it. I said, okay, that's fine. She has a jiu-jitsu page now, first of all. Competes at every tournament that we do. Is so fearless, like on the mats. It's so awesome. Does all the techniques we tell her to, listening to us, helping out kids that are like new in the class. It's so awesome. And she didn't even want to fight in the beginning. And now she's like winning, like always winning Friday night fights, always helping out. Such a good kid. Such good manners. Her mom is like, her parents are so grateful for it, you know. It's so awesome. But that's not even the one story. That's just one story. Yep. Like I teach a bunch of kids that have like attention issues too. And they are like, you can see in front of your eyes, like they stop getting kicked out less and less. They're like paying attention. They're like, I'll help out the new kid. It's so awesome.
It's a huge part of the warrior kid thing. And I just beg everyone to train jiu-jitsu yourself. Get your kids trained in jiu-jitsu. It's so helpful for every aspect of your life. It's just so good for you. And you got to be careful, because you can do what I did. I knew that very thing with my own kids, and I freaking blew it.
You didn't. Now I will.
The cool thing is now all my kids train. But I blew it for a while. I could have done it better. Let's say that. And
everyone has their own path.
Yep. As we said when you got your blue belt, everybody, it's best if they have their own path.
It's not your path.
And not just in jiu-jitsu, in everything in life. But putting the crumbs out on the trail so they can find them is the best way to do it. Don't push them down the path. Don't shove them down the path. Don't cut off every other option besides the thing that you want. Put the crumbs out there. Let them see what it feels like. Let them understand it. Explain the why to them. and you're going to get your kid to be in a much better spot. And look, there's a bunch of other, all activities, and one of my friends, Scott, he's always said when all of you guys were younger, he was like, I just want my kids to be into something, whether it's surfing, whether it's playing guitar, whether it's volleyball, basketball, football, just being into something is awesome, and support them and enable that as much as you can. And if that thing happens to be jiu-jitsu,
hey, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, then that'll be really beneficial. And even if it's not, if they train once a week, if they're training once a week, they're getting in there, you'd be shocked at how much kids absorb once a week. Over a 2-year period, over a 3-year period, they're going in there once a week, once on Saturdays. And by the way, they're going to win in a little bullying fight. If they get attacked by some other 8-year-old and they've been training jiu-jitsu once a week for 4 months, they're winning, which is crazy. But they're winning. They don't have to worry about it. So those things are awesome. You're going on the speaker circuit too, right? Because aren't you speaking at Dr. Gabriel Lyon's event?
Mm-hmm. She asked me to speak there.
What are you going to speak about?
Probably it's in April, so it's pretty far away, but just about jiu-jitsu and exercise and things like that.
Right on.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Echo Charles, you got anything else? I noticed you a couple of times. I was looking over, you got kids.
Yeah. It's true.
You look like you were thinking about, what it's like having kids, and hopefully you learned from some of the mistakes that I made.
Yeah. I think watching you guys grow up, it mirrored, especially you mirror a lot of what my daughter goes through, because she's like stronger than her peers and stuff. But yeah, it kind of provides like a good, kind of like a track, like a path, something that I think that we all can kind of hold on to, because it's easy to compare ourselves like to other people, but I think a lot of times that's a mistake. But yeah, it was cool to know you and to see you grow up into who you are today.
Thanks.
It's interesting because you've known all my kids since they were little tiny kids.
Yeah, like baby kind.
Yeah, I think maybe you knew when we opened Victory. I think that was like 2000. And it was 2008, but 2007 we were training here for like 4 months. So it was 2007, and then we officially opened to the public in 2008. So how old were you in 2008? Like
7.
Dude. So yeah, my son was 5.
Yeah.
Your older sister Freya was 9. So that's like a 5-year-old is a little kid.
Yeah.
A 7-year-old is a little kid.
Yeah, like kid.
And it must have been weird for you because you didn't have kids yet.
No.
So you're just like looking at these freaking feral creatures.
What's funny, we were at Tim's house. That picture? I think I sent it to you. I sent it to all you guys.
Yeah.
Timbo?
Yeah, Timbo Mania.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think it was
It was actual Timbo Mania.
Yeah. And it's all you guys in the jacuzzi with my brother. And yeah, you guys are like little kids.
Yeah.
Yes, it was funny. But yeah, it's funny. And the next time I saw you was a picture that Jocko sent of you, like after you won a wrestling tournament. You're all like buff. I'm like, I don't remember this daughter, like this. And you kind of connect the dots. I was like, wow, man. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah,
Crazy
good job.
stuff.
Good job, Hannah.
Thanks.
Look at you.
So, all right. Well, I guess you want to thank probably Victory and Legion and Origin and Jocko Fuel.
Sure. Yeah, I do.
What else? Does that get us up to speed? Where can people find you? At Rana Willink.
Yeah. At Rana Willink on Instagram. I post a lot of jiu-jitsu. And yeah.
And speaking of Molk.
Sure. Hell yeah. Molk.
Echo Charles, are you on the Molk train?
Of course. Yes, sir. I'm very much
Even
on the
after
Molk
your road
train.
work today?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Molk train. That's protein, which you need. You know what else you need? Joint warfare.
Yeah, it helps.
You know what else you need? Super Krill.
Yeah, it helps.
Greens. Go. How many goes do you drink a day, Rana?
One if that.
Before what class?
J-Flow. Just, yeah. Or before I teach the kids. Just depends. I won't drink 2 in one day.
Yeah.
But I don't drink coffee or anything like that.
Yeah. If you want this stuff that's going to help you throughout your journey, go to jockofuel.com.
Hi, Journey.
Hi, Journey.
Hi, Healing Journey.
Hi, Healing Journey. If you need stuff to help propel you down the healing journey, we got the stuff that you need. jockofuel.com. We got the 434 tour going on. We're going to be in Bentonville, Arkansas.
Yep.
Saturday, October 26th. Yep. So if you want to come by for that, if you want any of this stuff, like I said, you can go to jockofuel.com. You can go to Walmart. You can go to Wawa, Vitamin Shop, GNC, military commissaries, AFES, Hannaford, Dash stores in Maryland, Wakefern, ShopRite, HEB, down in Tejas, Meyer up in the Midwest, Wegmans. I just had someone tell me that they buy out Wegmans like once a week. They're in their kit, and I was like, outstanding. Harris Teeter, Lifetime Fitness, Shields, and we're getting into more and more places. Small gyms. We're in jiu-jitsu gyms all over the place. Legion, Victory. We're going into Autos. Yeah. So just if you got a jiu-jitsu school or you got a CrossFit gym, jfsales at jockofuel.com. Hit us up, and we can get you the goods that you need. Also, on your healing journey of jiu-jitsu, guess what you're going to need, Echo Charles?
What?
It wasn't a healing journey of jiu-jitsu. It was just like healing journey of myself. Jiu-jitsu
was part of
but jiu-jitsu is part of the healing.
Yeah, it's not of jiu-jitsu. It's of Rana Willink.
I'm going to say, okay.
We won't give jiu-jitsu too much credit.
Whoa, wait.
I give it a lot of credit.
No, hold on now. I heard you say something the other day. You were like, I think you said, I do not know where I would be in my life right now without the jiu-jitsu boha.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's like, okay. Sorry, I'm going to.
She said she didn't want to give jiu-jitsu credit.
Thank you, Echo.
Oh, too much credit.
No, the healing, it started with a lot. But jiu-jitsu helped me tremendously, for sure. But it doesn't have to be jiu-jitsu. It should be jiu-jitsu.
It's not. Jiu-jitsu helps.
Yeah,
jiu-jitsu
it
helps.
does.
Jiu-jitsu helps a lot.
Think something that you're into. That you like to do that takes your mind off things that is crazy. We got a lot going on in life.
You know, one of the things about jiu-jitsu is like, let's say there's other things that you can get into that you can get obsessed with that thing, and when you get obsessed with that thing, it makes you obsessed with a lot of other things that are tangential to the thing. So instead of just being obsessed with the thing, you can be thinking about like, well, if I'm into guitar, I really need to get this amp and this app and this thing and this, that, and this tuner and all this stuff, right?
Well, isn't that just like jiu-jitsu gear to help you do the main thing?
But I'm saying you can only get a gi and a rash guard. There's no like...
You can get a cute one from Origin.
That's true. Cute. So speaking of jiu-jitsu gis, originusa.com. Check it out. We got Made in America jiu-jitsu gis. We got rash guards. We got jeans, boots,
of course,
t-shirts, joggers. We got everything that you need. Workout gear, hunt gear. We got everything that you need. And it's all made in America, so you don't have to worry about sending money to this nation's adversaries who have actual slave labor in 2024. We fought against slavery in the Civil War. Let's continue to fight against slavery by buying American right now. Go to originusa.com. That's what I got. Echo Charles.
It's true. Oh, also, Aaron, I got to thank you for keeping us, and Jocko especially, up to date with all the current terminology and expressions.
What's your guys' favorite?
Well, it's a good one. That was a new one. The one that you just said when you're like, hello, journey. Hello, journey.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? Like, kind of like, oh, that's a new one, right?
Yeah,
hello.
it's sort of like,
you said that.
It's sort of like sometimes your journey, like, it can be a little bit like, this is my journey. So you're like, hello, journey. You know.
I actually sent on the family group text, said, hey everyone, Rana's coming on the podcast. Please send Rana's vocabulary words, because she has her own freaking way of speaking, which she refrained from decently amount today. But maybe the next time she comes on, we'll go through the entire Because the thing that was funny was she would say these words, but then like her friends would all say these words, and then the family would say these words, and so it was like.
And even dads, you say those words.
Oh yeah, I would say these words.
Eating.
Yeah.
What
She's eating. Yeah.
That's one.
See, but did you make that up? You didn't make that up.
No, I didn't make it up.
But she brings it in from popular culture.
Yeah. She's like the prophet that brings it in or whatever. Like, and my daughter, she's 11, so she gets some of it, and I kind of refine my understanding and knowledge. But I think this is where I get the bulk of it for sure. Car.
See, I just hit you.
Right, you can't hit me with the advanced ones too fast.
For sure. Yeah. We need to disseminate or discern between the words that you brought into the
A lot of things I don't make up. It's just
I
you guys have never heard it before.
Right. Yeah.
But I love when you start saying it. And then my friends are like, bro, what? Did he just say period? Yeah. So fun.
Wait, period. So I remember one time we were recording your singing, by the way. And you were asking a question, and then you said question mark. You said the word question mark. So I was like, wait, is this some weird new thing? And then I like thought about it for a little bit, a day, maybe two, and then I realized, is it because you talk to text a lot?
No, I never talk to text. I think it's just like you're saying a statement, but you're also kind of asking. You're like, I guess I'm gonna say that on the podcast? Question mark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I guess you are saying, I guess I'm going to say that, but also you're saying like
making it clear that it's a question mark.
Yeah.
Right.
Like in Jiu Jitsu, if you know, if you're like, wait, does my hand go here? Question mark.
Wait. Okay. So it's
because you kind of know your hand goes there, but also you're like, you're not like my hand goes here because you don't know,
right.
And you're asking like your coach,
right.
And you're just like question mark because you don't want to be like, I know it.
Right.
Periods.
Okay.
You're like, I don't know, question mark.
Yeah. So it's not redundant. It's kind of just more specific, really.
It specifies it, yeah.
Yeah. I concluded that it was like, oh no, these kids nowadays, they're on their phone texting and stuff. Sometimes they're talking and texting. And when you say question mark, it puts a question mark there. You see what I'm saying? But hey, all right. Yeah, I'm glad I know now. But also, by the way, thanks for clarifying, by the way.
Of course.
If I'll be on the lookout for any new terminologies. Anyway, Jocko the Store, I don't know if you know this. Actually, I do know you know this because I see you representing from time to time, which I like, by the way. But it's called Jocko Store. So you go to jockostore.com. Discipline equals freedom. Yeah. Rash guards, t-shirts, hats, hoodies. Mainly t-shirts. That's what we, I don't want to say specialize in, but we kind of specialize in t-shirts. Speaking of t-shirts, also Shirt Locker. It's called the Shirt Locker. Subscription, t-shirt scenario, new design every month. Good designs.
Ren has requested certain ones of those from you.
Yeah.
Especially Toxic Product. Did you make up Toxic Productivity?
No, that's my older sister.
Freya made that up?
Yeah.
She was like,
but it's true. It's true.
Yes, I'm the CEO of Toxic Productivity.
CEO. Have you heard of CEO?
CEO poster child. Oh, wait, as an expression?
Yeah.
No,
later.
Oh,
if we're talking about something, you say, I'm the CEO of the company. Like, trust me, I know, okay. You know? Like Toxic Productivity. Have you heard of it? Dad would be like, I'm the CEO of the company. You know what I mean?
Okay. Good.
Which in this case, I guess
but also,
I am.
Everyone must get stoned. I requested that shirt, but I can't really wear it anywhere.
How come?
Just like, I don't know.
Might be too much for some environments.
There are some people that were against that shirt.
Yeah.
But because I heard the story about it, I was like, I want that shirt.
It's so good.
What about this one right here?
That is a cool shirt.
It's pretty cool.
It's not Shirt Locker. This is
Different.
Store.
So Jiu Jitsu is Life t-shirt. Yep. You got the Deathcore flag flying boldly and aggressively there.
Very aggressively, yes.
You have 4 stripes on your black belt in that particular thing.
No, actually, this is the empty space. So it represents any belt that you may have. See what I'm saying? That's the symbolism, the layers behind it. Okay. Nonetheless, Shirt Locker is a little bit outside the box designs. Varying levels of it's good fun. People seem to like it. There's one guy representing at the muster with it was the Snickers.
I saw that.
Did you see that one?
Yeah.
I signed it.
It said discipline on it?
And freedom on the back.
I signed a Toxic Productivity t-shirt at the muster.
Perfect.
I love that shirt.
So there you go.
JockoStore.com. That's where it is.
There you go. Also, Rana eats steak. She gets her steak from primalbeef.com and coloradocraftbeef.com. If you want to get the best steak, go to those websites and get some. Also, subscribe to the podcast. Also, Jocko Underground. We're about to record one of those right now. YouTube channels. what is there? There's Origin USA, there's Jocko Fuel, and there's Jocko Podcast.
Sure.
Check those out.
And clips.
Oh, and there's Jocko Podcast Clips.
Do you run that?
It's a good one. I'd say we collectively run it together for sure.
Oh.
Okay, bro. I've written a bunch of books. So if you want to get those books, check them out. If you want to, look, there's a movie coming out. It's called Way of the Warrior Kid, directed by Mick G.
Good man.
Starring a guy named Chris Pratt.
Good man.
Also featuring Rana Willink, Echo Charles.
And Jocko Willink.
And me, as a matter of fact. We're featured in it.
Yes, sir.
So you may want to be on the lookout for that. But I'll tell you what. Get the books. The movie's not going to come out for a bit. So you want to introduce jiu-jitsu to your kids in a real powerful way? Get the books. Way of the Warrior Kid. You want to introduce your kids to working out in a real positive way? Get the books. You want to introduce your kids to healthy eating? Get the books. They don't need to be eating junk food. Now, do they need a freaking scale? No, they don't need to weigh their food. There's no mentions.
Yeah, no mentions.
So check those out. Also, Echelon Front, we solve problems through leadership. We have a leadership consultancy. We just heard about the Women's Assembly. We just got done with the muster down in Dallas. It was sold out. It was freaking epic. The next one is in San Diego. San Diego.
Yeah, it's good.
February 23rd through the 25th. These things sell out. They have all sold out, and they all will sell out. So if you want to go, register ASAP, come to San Diego and check it out. That's going to be February 23rd through the 25th. And after that is San Antonio. I think that's April 29th through May 1st. So there you go. FTX, Council, Battlefield. We have a bunch of things going on. If you want our help with your leadership, go to echelonfront.com. We also have Online Training Academy. Have you spoken on one of those yet?
No.
Jamie's going to have you speak on the women's one because there's a women's one.
All right.
So check it out. We have an online training academy. Go to extremeownership.com. These principles that we teach, we do it on courses. We also are live on there, and it has helped so many people square away their business and their life. Check it out, extremeownership.com. If you want to help service members, active and retired, you want to help their families, you want to help Gold Star families, check out Mark Lee's mom, Mama Lee. She's got an amazing charity organization. If you want to donate or you want to get involved, go to americasmightywarriors.org. Also, Micah Fink, I guess latest report, he was fishing with a stick and he stabbed a salmon, pulled it out of the river. He's eating it right now, riverside, watching the sunset. He helps our veterans find themselves by taking them up into the wilderness. Heroesandhorses.org. Also, Jimmy May's organization, Beyond the Brotherhood, helping SEALs after they get out, transition into the civilian sector. If you want to connect with us on the interwebs, Jocko.com. Also on social media, Rana is at Rana Willink.
Yeah.
You're on the gram.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere else?
No.
Twitter?
Nah.
X?
No.
I'm at Jocko Willink. Echo is at Echo Charles. Just be careful, because there's an algorithm that will choke you, put you to sleep. You won't even know it. Echo Charles, any final questions for Rana?
Nope, that was it. Good to see you, sister.
Do you roll with Rana?
Have I ever rolled with Rana?
You know.
Yeah, plenty of times.
How does that make you feel?
Well, I'm very happy that she's in jiu-jitsu. We'll put it that way. I'm very happy she's on our team. We'll put it that way. And I'm glad that you are who you are.
Have you panicked rolling with Rana?
Panicked? I can't say that I've panicked.
Have you say this to me sometimes.
The answer is yes.
What's the word you say to me?
Sense of urgency.
Have you felt a sense of urgency with Rana Willink?
Yes, various times.
Yeah.
So actually, I'll even tell you where, and I said this at the camp when I was teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I used you as the example. So there's a move.
Mm-hmm.
Dean calls it the punk sweep, or I don't know, something like this, where it's like, it's a thing. Where you essentially push the back of a guy's arm when they do this thing or
like
whatever.
Stiff arm on the armpit.
Oh, okay,
yeah, behind the tricep kind of, and you kind of can get up, you can get out of side control. It's a very effective move.
Mm-hmm.
Big guy, small guy, whatever. And I didn't even remember it because it happens like pretty rare. Mm-hmm. But the time that it always happens is with Hannah. Mm-hmm. So it's the one thing you got to watch out for. And I know this, that you got to watch out for this because I almost got with it. few times.
Almost got.
And those were the times that I experienced that sense of urgency that I sometimes talk about. Yes.
All right. Rana Willink, any closing thoughts from you?
No. Thanks for having me on. That was very fun.
Very fun.
Very good.
Well, thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing your stories and your lessons, and thank you for being such a great person and such a wonderful daughter. And you're not only inspiring to a bunch of men and women and kids around the world, you're also inspiring to me.
Thanks, Beth.
Also, thanks to all our military personnel around the world. We know that you make sacrifices to keep us safe during peacetime and during war. So thank you for protecting us and a way of life. And also thanks to police, law enforcement, firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, dispatchers, correctional officers, Border Patrol, Secret Service, as well as all other first responders. We know that you sacrifice greatly for us as well, and we thank you for it. And to everyone else out there, trust, listen, respect, influence, and care. This is how you build relationships with people. You give them those things. And this not only includes the people you work with, it not only includes your peers, it not only includes your subordinates, it not only includes your boss, most important, it includes your family. So give those things to them. And of course, go train jiu-jitsu with them too. Until next time, this is Rana and Echo and Jocko